think 8 hours will be enough? I hope so. I hope to be done this cooking before then. Well, I definitely wanted to get online here before anybody else did and messed it up. These old folks are slacking, and I'm picking up that slack. I hope to be joined by a few of them coming up here, but in the meantime, I got some cooking stuff to do. If anybody's watching online right now, I can't see the live chat, so let's see here. There's got to be a way to do that. If anybody's wondering why I look like shit, it's, well, I was drinking last night, that's why. Mute that shit. Oh, now I'm in some sort of loop. Great. Well, I can't hear my volume, so I'm not sure if it's working right now. If anybody can see that shit, appreciate information as to whether my shit's working or not. Did that work? Okay, great. Sweet. Well, it looks like I got volume on my end, so I'm just going to go with it. Anybody wants to join can. If you know me on Google+, that is. And I don't know, maybe I should just post the link publicly. The chips fall where they may. It's a frightening thought. Man, is it? Anybody else's computer running slow? Just me? I'll even go to... Oh, look what the cat dragged in.
A cat? Really? There is no cat inside around here.
How's it going, Fabio?
It's going okay-ish. Yeah, I
Just
had
okay.
Yeah, I mean, I had well, not a shitty weekend, but kind of a intense Friday. Yeah.
Oh man, I hope everything's okay.
No, everything is okay. It's some minor disappointments.
Your family?
No, yeah, my family is okay. Yeah, it's everything is external, so it's no big deal. Fuck them.
1 second, I'm just gonna turn off my camera here for a second. Oh man. Well, that's good. So you're past the intense part now. This is the small window when you get to relax for a second.
Oh well, let's say that the intense part lasted as it was as short as a possible could get it to be short. There is nothing that a nice amount of wine and some good time with friends cannot cure. So.
Yeah.
How about you, man?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, the week was all right. I managed to get through it okay.
Mm,
I don't know. I just started a new job the last couple of weeks here, so I've been kind of getting into the swing of things.
nice.
It's a lot more paperwork than I'm used to, but other than that, I'm doing good.
Is it an interesting one? Is it an interesting job? Is it?
Yeah, I really like it. It's kind of a switch on what I used to be doing. So I used to be doing like lots of service calls where I kind of go into a customer's home or a business, right? And then like the goal of the service guy is to sort of upsell everything, right? Like we're trying
Yeah.
to like charge the customer as much as we think we can, probably,
Mm.
in some sense. Um, so there's always like this sort of necessity to like I don't know to be a little more cutthroat with customers. But now I'm working for a property management company.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really great. Like I get to kind of go in and tell them like the best way to go about something. I get to come in after a service guy has gone in there and tell them
Yeah.
you know like what needed to be done and what didn't need to be done, and like try to save them a lot of money rather than
Uh-huh.
trying to cost them money, which is I don't know. It's a full switch on my trade now. So.
It is totally different. I understand you very well. I used to be in a company which used to have the same approach as you described, and I resigned for it from the company 4 or 5 years ago because of that reason. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's not a fun way to deal with cut your customers. Like you want to come through to them like genuinely, and like when you're sort of being underhanded with them, it can be real disappointing. It makes going to work hard anyways. So
It does, and also especially I mean I don't know about your
I'm cooking
situation.
in the kitchen here today.
Yeah. No, I was saying I understand the situation, especially, and again, I don't know about you, but I wasn't working on commission. So for me to go to a customer and try to upsell services was kind of weird because I'm not making any money out of that. And so I'm only selling my soul, for someone else to make money, which it didn't make sense at all to me. And that's why I told the guys to fuck off and die. And yeah, but that was interesting. You still there? Because I can't hear you anymore. Nope.
You went really robotic there for a second. I was trying to see if it was on my end here.
No, it's probably my end. Hold on a second. I'll try to switch off the. Is it still bad?
No, I can hear you now.
Okay,
But
cool.
The end part of your whole phrase there went total Dalek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All
No,
right.
so I was telling you, I understand the situation, and my problem was that I wasn't even paid on commission.
Ooh,
So
yeah, see, that's rough, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, for me to try to upsell something which I have I have very low interest in was really weird. I mean, I try to go to a customer and do the best I can, and possibly in the shortest amount of time, because that's what I'm expecting people coming to my house to do stuff right?
oh yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It was really funny.
Yeah, but I mean, it's sort of this weird situation that service guys are in, right? Like where we do have the know-how to fix something that probably the customer doesn't have. And so in some senses, they're relying on us to be totally upfront with them about what is required of the unit, or like, what needs to be done and what doesn't. And, it's very easy for us to abuse that trust when we're in that situation. I think that's, I don't know, it's something that kind of weighs on some of us in the industry anyway.
Well, I think you got to make a stance somewhere, because I don't think anybody of us likes to be upset by someone. It might be someone repairing your refrigerator, or or fixing your car, or whatever. So my idea is that you get to a certain point that you got to realize, okay, do I want to be that guy I'm always complaining about or not. And it's personal choices.
Yeah. No, it's true. And I mean, in some sense, like you're sort of forced into that position if you want to keep your job, right? Your boss is under no obligation to keep you if you're not selling or you're not worth your money, right? So I think that's
Yeah.
it's legitimate, but
Yeah, but it's funny in services because I mean, in my uh, with my case, I was basically sent to fix stuff, and I was in a company where supposedly they had people which was devolved, to find new customers and send me to those customers.
yeah, there's a
Now,
big
if
market
you
for
ask
stuff.
me,
I mean, yeah.
yeah. So, but if you ask me to go there and try to upsell stuff, I'm not being a technician anymore. I'm selling shit, and that's not my job. This
Yeah,
is
that's
not
what I
what I'm
felt
comfortable,
too.
right?
Yeah, that's right. Like
So,
let the salesman on the floor sell the customer all the extra stuff, right? Like if I'm there as a technical assistant, right? Like they're looking at me as an authority in some sense, right? Like I'm there
right.
just to fix the thing, and yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there is also the
yeah,
fact that you never know where you're going to be tomorrow. So if it happens that you change company and you go to the same customer with another company, I mean, it's still your face, right?
yeah. That's right.
So the integrity is yours. Your integrity is yours. It's not something you can buy. I think there are choices to be made, and sometimes they're not really easy choices. I understand that, but it all boils down to the fact: okay, when I'm complaining, am I allowed to complain? Because am I part of the same scheme, or what? Because
Hmm.
you know,
That's a good question.
well, yeah,
I mean,
it's an easy question. It's a complicated answer because
yeah,
people do not realize that. I think it's the kind of easy question that it's very hard to come by. Just making the question to yourself, because once you make the question to yourself, I mean, you're in a pickle. Because it's like I don't know. Have you ever seen there is a sketch from two English comedian Mitchell and Webb, and they are the Nazi and they're talking about the war. And at a certain point, the guy tells him, we have skulls on our, caps, and we kill
yeah,
people. Aren't we the baddies? you know? yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
That's right. And they're having that little argument amongst each other. Like, no, no, we're not the baddies. I mean, like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean we're killing. Yeah, I mean we do have skulls, but I mean that just looks cool, right? Well, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
And
don't know. It's an interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because I mean that's exactly the point, right? Is that like you sort of show up as a service guy as the hero, and it's like I think it's it's too bad in your own head when you kind of that kind of idealized version of yourself showing up there like kind of crumbles
Mhm.
and fades in the face of reality. When you start to realize like, oh no, my boss actually wants me to like sell a bunch of unnecessary parts and like
Right.
spend
Right.
45 minutes pretending to do a diagnostic that it doesn't need or whatever, right? Like
Right.
there's these weird things that like you just sort of accept as part of maintaining that hero
Yeah.
facade, even though it's unnecessary or probably the opposite of what you were intending. So
It's a problem of integrity because everybody when he goes to someone which they deem as an expert. And again, it might be the guy repairing your refrigerator or the plumber or the mechanic. They expect to be treated fairly. Okay, I have
mm,
this problem. How much is going to cost me to fix that problem? That's it. But if you don't behave like that, how can you demand to be treated the same way? It's really weird.
yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I like in some ways like I wish there wasn't that part of the industry, right? Like I kind of wish that it was like totally all high minded and that we were just there to like to be the unbiased fixer of this product. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like the system itself is really set up for that, right? Like the company itself is sort of geared to make the money. So there's no really way around it. Like if even if we wanted to like just get away with like fixing the unit and not charging the customer anything, right? Like we could do that, but it wouldn't solve the problem itself with the industry.
Well, the industry is made by people which are part of the industry.
Yeah.
That's the first step. So again, it all boils down to the fact: am I really allowed to complain about things? Am I allowed to complain about pollution if every time something breaks down, I buy a new part instead of trying to fix that? Am I allowed
Yeah.
to complain about people overcharging me when my job is they're asking me to do exactly the same thing, and I'm do that happily because fuck it, I'm just a cog in the wheel. What's the worst that can happen? Well, the worst that can happen is that you perpetuate, that kind of attitude.
So, I mean, so do you think that's like a problem that's sort of society wide then, that we sort of ignore our own sort of hypocrisy when it comes to our ideals, and that for ourselves we see the expediency of like getting a paycheck, and for everybody else we sort of hold them to that ideal standard that like they're
I think
supposed
it
to be
is.
following. Like
I think it is. I think
we're
it's
mad when the salesman isn't actually trustworthy, even though we know. Yeah.
It's not only the salesman. Keep in mind, it's that once you're starting to get involved with that kind of attitude, it becomes really hard, to get the fuck away with that. I I I I would like everybody to go through their house and look into the drawers and find something they didn't have no idea they bought it, but they just bought it anyway. Because it seems to be a nice idea to have that particular item, which it serves no purpose at all.
Yeah. No, I
So
mean there's got to be those things. Um, I don't know. I tend to have a fairly I don't know. I run a pretty tight ship, but I'm guilty of buying things I don't need once in a while.
yeah, I mean, today my wife found an antenna that I probably bought, I don't know, 15 years ago, and it's been sitting in his container in a drawer for like, again, 10 years or 15 years. Why the fuck did I bought that? I have no idea. It's never been used. It's still in this blister. And then we complain that the seaside is polluted and all that stuff. I mean, why do I keep buying shit I don't really need? Why do I keep selling stuff that doesn't need to be sold? You're muted, by the way. So.
So yeah, you broke up there quite a bit.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I'm sorry.
that's probably me. So like I get what you're saying. But like it's unfortunate because like I frequent thrift stores a lot, and I end up finding like lots of great deals on barely used stuff. And so
Hmm.
in some senses, like I kind of profit personally off of the fact that we have sort of a throwaway society where people are willing to let things go even if they're still in good condition, or people who are constantly buying things they don't need, right? Like because then I end up getting a nice used pair of pants, or like a used pair of shoes or something like that.
Hmm.
So I mean those sort of things to me like are valuable, but I do see it as being the product of a society that is sort of broken, right? And like I can kind of justify going to thrift stores and buying this stuff like under the rubric that like at least it's like I'm keeping it out of the landfill, or at least I'm like using it when it might not have been used. But at the same time, like thrift stores become very throwaway sort of things, right? Where because I don't invest as much of my money into the actual product, like I'm more likely to go buy just a new one if something goes wrong with this one, or
Yeah.
so there's still that element of the throwaway society that sort of infests even the second and third tier of reuse cycles.
No, there is, and I agree with you. The other thing is that nobody well, very less and less people are trained to actually fix stuff because
Yeah.
they all say, yeah, it's cheaper to throw it away and buy a new one. Well, it might be cheaper economically, but I I would really try to dispute that. There is a lot of things which they appear really nice on paper, but if you dig a little bit, they're not really that nice. It's like hybrid cars, for example. The I read a paper not too much time ago that the impact that the Prius has on the environment, for example, is astonishing. Like, just the fact that the material for the batteries is structured in some place where a lot of damage has been done, and then it's transferred to another country and to another country to be refined, and then the car is shipped over there. I mean, at the end of it, even before you start driving that car, and supposedly it save money on petrol, the environmental impact is incredible. So you better be buying a used car, which is less fuel efficient overall, rather than buy a new Prius, for example. So,
That's interesting. And I think the sort of the commercial industry of like fuel efficiency and stuff really does have, it's like rife with examples of where we gain miles per gallon, but we lose it when it comes to the production that it takes to make the car itself. And like it seems like we don't really think about the total balance of energy. And well, I mean, it's not that we don't think about it. I think it's that corporations don't really think about it, right? They can externalize those costs, and they never really have to incorporate that into the price of the vehicle itself.
Oh yeah, I mean, let's make you a quick example. I was in Iceland this summer, and while I was driving from Reykjavik to Keflavik, where the airport is, what?
Good night.
So what? What'd you say?
You just sneezed? I thought you just sneezed. No, you didn't? Okay, sorry.
No. Well, I was driving from Reykjavik to Keflavik in Iceland, and by the highway there was this huge hangars, like 100 feet long, 100 yards long. Sorry. And I asked the driver what were they, and he told me that there were aluminum foundries. They ship bauxite from Australia to Iceland because electricity is really cheap in Iceland. So they dig bauxite in Australia, they put it on ships, they send it to Iceland because for the company it's cheaper to extract aluminium in Iceland rather than in Australia. I'm not really sure that from an environmental point of view that's really cheaper. So I'm really puzzled sometimes. And by the way, it's all Sokka's fault because he's in the Navy, and Ned's fault because, he's into airplanes. So that's a very specific example. We have two people here which are responsible for that shenanigans.
Hell yeah. And I'm going to stay.
Yeah, sure. I'll own it.
Yeah, just both admit it, eh?
Yeah. See?
You want to see something that's not efficient? Go watch a jet.
How are you find diesel users right this day? Yeah.
I didn't hear that, John. Sorry. What'd you say?
Sorry, my computer's a little slow. I said, how are you find diesel smokers these days?
Oh, pretty good. And yeah, by the way, jet fuel is just kerosene. So
yeah,
we definitely.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Highest efficiency possible, I think.
I see Mouty is hiding from us, Fabio. Where the hell, is he that worried about our little video to come, or what's going on?
I don't know. I mean, he said he has family stuff. I mean, I think it's more honest than using the old friend excuse, which he doesn't have. So my family, he has a family. That's fair enough. So,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, I guess we'll wait another week.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
You're right. In fact, I talked to Matthew today. He's driving back from Canada, so he said that if we did have to wait another week, it's not a big deal because he can't watch today since he's going to be on the road. So that might work out even.
Oh yeah, yeah. We might have the surprise guest, right?
That would be even better if he could get to the computer. That'd be nice.
I'll be right back. You guys carry on.
Well, I'm late, guys, so I have no idea what we're even talking about, to be honest with you.
We're talking about the way the world is sort of a throwaway society these days, and that we seem to value. I mean, we don't seem to value being able to fix anything anymore. Instead, we sort of just have this consumerist attitude where as soon as something is broken, we'll just get a new one, right? Like there is no need to find any sort of permanent solution to our problem. And like, while our current technology seems more and more efficient, like, isn't that like throwaway attitude, ultimately kind of condemning us to be more and more wasteful as we go, right? Like, we're filling landfills at a faster rate than we were like a few years ago, even though we've tried to eliminate the amount of packaging we use and, like, try to be more conscious about being recycling and doing recycling and things like that.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. In fact, it's kind of ironic that you're talking about that. I just got finished repairing. There was a water leak under my foundation last week, and I got that repaired, and then I was putting the sink back in, where it went. And one of the things that had happened when I was taking cutting through the floors is I broke through one of the pipes. Luckily, it was a drain pipe and not a whatever. But this house was built in the early 60s, which means everything in this house is all brass and copper fittings. The pipes themselves are all copper. And my plumber even mentioned, you've got probably $20,000 to $50,000 worth of copper and brass in this house. Nobody makes fittings like this anymore. So the problem is I had to go find another few fittings to get back to the sink for the drain plug that I had cut through, or the drain line that I had cut through. And just the absolute crap, the horrible, useless, it almost looks like toys. And that's how I bought a pack of fittings that were supposed to be universally, you can fix anything with them. And I didn't pay attention to what they felt like in the packet. I figured they were, fairly thick PVC, decent pipe that's going to last a little bit. Well, I get them home and they're so flimsy that the pressure fittings won't even squeeze them together because they just collapse under their own weight. I mean, I can literally squeeze the pipes together with 2 fingers. And it's just, I'm like, how does anybody fix anything? So long story short, I had to go back and fix the original pipes just to make it work because the stuff is so cheap in the store nowadays that, because no one cares. If it lasts for 5 years, you're probably not going to be in this house more than, most people don't live in their houses more than, maybe 20 years. So they're like, you know what, if that fitting will last for 20 years, it'll be the next guy's problem. I don't have to worry about it. Whereas, like this house was built, unless something happens, these fittings should last 100, 200 years. And it's just infuriating.
Yeah. I'm a 35-year-old fridge mechanic, and like I'm in this weird position now where stuff that is made after I was born is almost coming up to its its 15-year limit, right? Like it's almost ready to be thrown away. And stuff that was made before I was born is still going strong, right? Like, we're still changing parts on these things. We're still they're still great units. And like, it's a weird dichotomy now from like the last, in 45 years ago, a furnace made, like they made that thing to last 70 years. So it's this really weird time now to live in where suddenly, like, I'm seeing my job description become more and more about small parts or about changing, the unit out itself rather than actually fixing anything on it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of ironic as well. I'm a pilot primarily, but I also have my what's called an aviation and power plant degree, so I can I can build and fix airplanes as well as fly them. And you know we're not to get too much into it, but we're selling a rental property and we're looking at reinvesting that money into a business. And in order to do that, I'm looking at buying an airplane for that business. And it's funny because the airplanes I'm looking at are literally 1940s and 1950s, maybe 1960s is the newest thing that I want to buy, just because I know the type of airplane that I want to buy. And from a utility standpoint, what I want it to be able to do, the robust ones, the ones that I can work on, the ones that are going to be able to last for 20, 30 years that, I want to, because I don't want to buy more than one plane. I want to buy it and it be done. And I just become a specialist on that type of aircraft. Yeah. All of the new electronics, all the new, hydraulics, all the stuff that's in there now is made to more or less be replaced every 5 years, 6 years. Whereas a 1947 airplane, literally, I'm looking at a 1947 airplane. I guarantee you, because of the way it was built, and it's a military aircraft, so it was built more robust anyway. But for the most part, other than spark plugs and changing oils and and maybe belts and every once in a while I don't know, a hose here and there, I'm not going to have to change anything. I don't have to go in and rebuild the whole damn thing every 5 years. And
well, I mean, when you bring up examples like when we compare things like cars to airplanes or helicopters or anything like that, like one of the reasons why we see like airplanes and stuff lasting a lot longer is because there's a certain requirement of servicing after X amount of hours. I mean, could you imagine if you had to service your car after 10 hours of use?
Yeah, and well, just so you're clear, on an airplane, if it's an airplane that's for hire, it has to be serviced. It has to be more or less completely dismantled and reassembled. All the parts have to be checked, and if they don't fall within tolerances and they have to be replaced, that happens every 100 hours.
Yeah, sorry, 100 hours. Okay, yeah. But I mean, like
it's not, even if it's not for rent though, once a year it happens. You don't have a choice. If you don't fly the airplane for an entire year, you cannot go back and fly that airplane again if it's been more than a year, even if the prop hasn't turned one revolution.
Yeah, and other things too, like with you take a look at things like what's another good example for that is oh geez, I just had this in my head. Race cars. Okay, those engines are rebuilt after almost every single race. Like a dragster, like a car that runs like a quarter mile.
Yeah, 4 seconds, and they rebuild the whole engine.
Yeah, well, a race car is different. I mean, racing equipment is designed with. There is a difference between having something failure by design and something which is supposed to be lasting X amount of hours because it's on the top end of performance. Those are two different things. I think we're talking about, we see some things in things that you buy every day, which they fail by design every X amount of hours. There is no good reason why it should fail other than they're designed to fail after X amount of hours. With a race car and racing things, it is different. They are designed to last that amount of hour because you get the maximum performances out of them. And that's the thing which I think is really frustrating.
Yeah. Well, that and also it's engineered that you can't fix it. I mean,
there is that too. Yeah, fuck it.
I mean, that's the thing that drives me the most crazy is even if you're going to design it to fail, that's fine, but make it to where it's fixable. Make it to where I can go back and, no, you got to pull the entire part and put in a new part. I mean, there's no fixing it. It's just throw it away.
Well, what frustrates
to make. Well, I see, and that's the thing is like, in not every single case would I think that it is. Like, I think an art form that's being lost. Like when I went through high school, I took power mechanics and auto body, and the stuff that I learned how to do in auto body is useless. Nobody does this anymore. Nobody. It's literally a skill that is being phased out. Because even now, if you go to you get into an accident, you go to get your car fixed. The vast majority of auto body shops, what you're doing is they're just ordering new factory parts.
Yep.
And that's it. Just like, oh, okay, that's there's no fabrication anymore. There's no actual repair. There's just take those parts off and bolt new things on.
Yep.
That's the extent of it.
Yeah, but it's because it's cheaper to do and slightly more efficient. I mean, if you're talking about cars, I mean, the way to recharge your battery, you have a dynamo. You used to have a dynamo. You have a rectifier and you have a diodes. And if any of those three parts fail, you can either fix it or change the part. Now you don't have that thing anymore. You have the dynamo, which contains the rectifier and there are no diodes anymore. It's all electronic. And if your car doesn't charge the battery, you take that whole unit and you throw it away because it's impossible to fix. Yeah. And you got to buy a new one. And if you make a car, it is way cheaper. But if you use a car and eventually you are able to fix it or you find someone able to fix it, it's pointless because you can't do that. And you can't do that. If you see,
I think what Sokka's touching on is even things that should be repairable. Like I'll give you a great example. We have an SUV, an Audi Q7. And there was a little bit of rust. It's an older one. A little bit of rust starting in one of the quarter panels, in the wheel well. So I'm like, okay, I can definitely hammer that out and redo it, but the biggest problem is going to be able to match the paint once I resurface that and, whatever. So I went to the body shop and said, hey, what is the chance that you guys can match this paint for me? Even just give me the paint. I've got some hand sprayers. I can do it myself and whatever. And the guy says, oh, we're not going to do it. Just change that quarter panel. And I'm like, right. The freaking rust is, it may be the size of a dime. I just found the first little bubble. Oh no, they want to replace the entire quarter panel. And I'm just like, you're out of your mind.
Yeah. And that kind of stuff scares me because it's not just because, like I said, that, or as, Fabio brought up that this is the easier way. This might be the more cost-effective way, but the point is that it's a trade. It's a skill that was that's really important, not just an application for like cars, but any type of fabrication, any type of work like that is a tradable skill that's becoming less and less prominent. Like people don't do this anymore, and
it is.
And that's and that's a shame to see something like that because and it maybe has to do with consistency because I know 20, 30 years ago if you had a good auto body guy you kept that guy because he knew what he was doing. Nowadays it doesn't matter because any fucking idiot with a wrench can swap out a quarter panel.
Yep. No, I agree with you, and sorry if I misunderstood you. We're both agreeing. My grandfather used to fix chairs and big sofas, stuff like that. But he was only able to work on things which were built in the 1800s or early 1900s. Because new stuff, he wouldn't even touch it with a finger or with a long pole. Because he said, that's pointless. It's useless. Once it breaks down, you better burn it because that's going to be faster.
Yeah, I think there's also the point of that it seems like what we're experiencing is some sort of let me think here, a de-skilling of the workforce, right? Where people have to know less and less about how a thing actually operates these days, right? I think that was what a specialist and what a technician really was useful for, is having the information as to how everything works inside the car itself. And I think what we see now is it's cheaper for a mechanics shop, right, to hire some kid out of school and just tell them, change out parts, right? Like if something's wrong, just change out this part. Like you don't need to know what's going on with it. You simply need to know enough skills to put this piece on and take this piece off, or whatever, turn this wrench here or adjust this nut there, and plug in a computer into the diagnostic system, right? So that's how the industry's been moving. And like I think on one hand, it does seem to save companies money, right, to have less and less skilled workers handling that sort of thing, and sort of centralize that sort of skill set to like their companies, right? So like so they engineer it ahead of time to be easily changeable and easily swappable parts, but to really not give their technicians no skill at all. And I don't know if that's happening everywhere, but I noticed it in my own industry pretty effectively.
Well,
I would agree with you. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Socket. Go.
I would say that I would agree with you in most cases until you take a look at where they put the battery on the early 2000 Chrysler Intrepids.
Where is your battery, Saka? Because you're not gonna believe where mine is.
No, mine is actually on the driver's side in the engine compartment where it's supposed to be.
Mine is on the driver's side underneath the driver's seat. I've got to take the front seat out of my car to replace a battery. It's nuts. Yeah.
I mean, you have a German car, to be fair.
I know.
So.
That's the problem.
Right.
And I specifically bought that car because I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy something fairly high end that's going to last for a long time. And to be fair, it has. But
no, one of the biggest problems is that, one of the biggest problems is that big companies have found out this concept of fidelity of the customers. So one of the main things is that they realize they cannot charge too much when they're selling you stuff, because everybody is trying to sell cheap stuff. So the way they make money is by fidelity. And I mean, if you want to look at a very good example, look no farther than Apple's. If you buy an Apple computer, you're basically fucked, because you can't fix it. I mean, it is true. It's funny because it's true.
I mean, what's funny, why I laugh, Fabio, is because my office, I am sitting here with literally 4 Apple computers in front of me.
I know. I was laughing my ass off while I said that. So, and
you saw my office. That's what.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the funniest part is that every so often you go and fix an Apple computer. You brought it in a genius shop, and the geniuses tell you, "No, we can't fix it. You got to buy a new one." I mean,
yeah, they're really creating the word genius there, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's fidelity. It's the same thing with the quarter panel that Ned used to be. I mean, you can't fix it. You got to buy a new one from Audi. So you keep buying stuff from them. So you save money at the beginning, but the real money is made, in maintaining your stuff.
Yeah, you see a similar thing with car dealerships these days here in Canada, where there's pretty much the requirement that you get your oil change and all sorts of maintenance done at the dealership that you got your truck at, or they'll void your warranty on the lease of it or something like that. You're sort of forced to pay them all the mechanics fees that you would have spent liberally or democratically out in the marketplace before. So even if you got a good deal on that truck, your hands are sort of tied if you want to maintain your warranty.
Well, in Europe, for example, if you buy a new car, in order for you to get the warranty working, as it always everywhere, you got to do some jobs every X amount of kilometers, or miles, or whatever you guys use in your third world. But there is a funny thing in Europe. There is a law which says that you're not obliged to do that in a specific shop. So my warranty is valid as long as I follow, the guidelines of the company I bought the car from, but I'm not forced to go and work with them, which is for them. Yeah.
That would be nice, because here it's not. I mean,
we could use that here.
Yeah, they can constrain anything. In fact, when that water pipe broke under my house, we had insurance on the house here, and since I decided to go with my own trusted plumber, they wouldn't pay me, or now I'm fighting them to get reimbursed because they want to send out their own, their own plumbers that, to be quite frank, were horrible, and we're trying to overcharge everybody. And what's funny is I may end up saving money by having to pay this out of pocket than what I would have had to pay if I would have paid the insurance's plumbers, because they were going to charge me a lot more money that wasn't covered because, quote unquote, the pipes weren't right. When, I mean, it's hilarious. But yeah, they can put any constraint they want to on it, and then just hide behind, well, you signed it, didn't you read your contract? Why didn't you read the contract? It's ridiculous.
See, and every so often you find people like John, or what they used to do, they know to say, no, I'm refusing to do that. I will not upsell my shit. So fuck you. But it's really tough to find people like that.
I knew a guy
to be fair, I suffered consequences at my work, right? Like I always caught hell from my boss when I did something like that. So, being nice pays, but it doesn't always pay the bills.
I used to work for a guy I worked for him for a summer when I was a teenager, but he had a refrigeration air conditioning company, and what I got hired on to do was that he had, as well as doing whatever his repairs at like stores and stuff for their refrigeration units and whatever. He did a lot of Slurpee machines, whatever. But he'd worked out a deal with the Coca-Cola plant in Winnipeg, that when they get their old machines and the old vending machines in, there's a bunch of stuff that needs to be done with them or whatever. I don't know, to strip them down before they can get rid of them, because you can't just dump, I guess, refrigeration equipment into a dump. There's certain things that they have to be taken out of it and stuff. So
yeah, the Montreal Protocol says that we cannot dump refrigerant into the air anymore, and every ounce of refrigerant has to be accounted for when it leaks. It's a lot stricter in some provinces rather than others, but you're right about that. You have to recover all the gas using certified recovery units and stuff like that.
Yeah, so what he was is that he was one of the guys that had a contract with them to essentially they'd pull these old motors, these old refrigeration motors out of these units, and then I'd come in there with these little clamp things and fill up these bottles full of the stuff in there. And he did this for the rights to scrap them. Like they didn't pay him a lot of money for this. But after I was done taking the taking all the chemicals out of it, all the refrigerant stuff, I would start cutting it apart and put all the aluminum over in this pile and put all the brass stuff and copper stuff over in this pile, and then what would happen would be then we go to the scrapyard and just sell it, and he'd make pretty good money off of that stuff. But I can't remember why I brought this up, because I have my wife and kids are both distracting me right now. But anyway, do I want to listen to what do I want to listen to a video for? Multiple fatalities.
Are you looking for a job, Saka? Is that what you're asking? You want to come scrap refrigeration units with me?
I would do that. Just scrap stuff. Not legally though, but I know where the construction sites leave the big spools of copper wire by the side of the road, so we're good.
Fuck! Didn't you hear last week in Edmonton we had a whole spool get stolen right off the power line, man. It's that takes a lot of balls. You were saying?
Yeah, it's funny though, because when I think back to it now, that I did that job piss poor, by the way, because I was a 17-year-old kid with no training and told to drain refrigerants out of these fucking cooling motors. So I probably Why are you so upset? What's wrong with you? Okay, yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, just stare at me then. That's fine. Yeah, no, I'm okay. Can I go back to my conversation now? Are you sure? Okay, cool.
God, I'm exhausted just listening to you.
It's exhausting, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of rude having
It's
kids,
best,
Saka.
guys.
Have you thought about not having kids? Sorry.
You lose soccer?
Anybody that goes out there and says like, it's like, oh, we're planning on having kids or whatever, I'm always like, oh, that's cool, that's great. Kids are awesome. Just because I want to share in their misery, for them to share in my misery. But every once in a while, like you come across somebody who's just like, he's like, you know what? I don't think I want kids. And then there's always like a group of people that will be like, oh, you can't say that. Kids are a blessing. I love people like that. People that have actually have that position where it's like, you know what? I don't think that I want children. And I'm always like, good for you. You know what? Because there should be no requirement to have children. If you don't think you're going to enjoy it, then don't do it.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we have done this earlier?
Because we didn't realize that we'd have to choose between a boat or kids.
Remember that time when you were like, let's buy a boathouse? And then I said, fuck you.
We should have. You know what? If we had put ourselves under strict financial burden, by owning like a 36-foot sailboat.
Hold on. Would living on the water in a boathouse make me infertile?
Possibly. I mean, whatever. I don't like. If we were too broke because we were already paying for my boat, then we wouldn't have had kids. It just makes sense.
Too broke to afford.
I don't think you can ever be too broke to have kids, Saka.
I think that I think that you can be too broke to have kids.
I'm pretty sure the
Only if you're intelligent enough to realize that fact.
Yeah,
That's the
right.
problem.
Oh, see,
You don't figure it out. You're right.
Yeah, but that actually is that is a good point. Is that when we had when we had money, we'd go out and we'd we'd go out and do fun things, and everything was good. But then as soon as you have kids, you start losing money and you can't go out as much. So what do? You stay home and make more kids. It's a cruel cycle.
Yeah, but people do not realize. I mean, my two kids, I might as well call them one Lamborghini and the other one Ferrari, because that's the amount of money you're going to spend on them. And you don't realize it.
Yep.
And but I agree with you, Soccer. People should have a license to have kids. I agree with you.
I agree with that too.
Yeah, that would solve a lot of problems.
Because
And
mine
I
should
don't-
have been revoked. Should have been revoked
Yeah.
right at the beginning, where when like it's like, oh no, you need a license to have kids. I'm like, well, that settles that then.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't care if the license is issued by the state or from the Pope. I don't care. I mean, someone should be able to issue license. You should not be able to have kids as much as you want. Not some people.
Yeah, I think you should be able to show a rudimentary ability to fill out forms before you can have kids.
Yes, for example. Yeah, right.
Or I don't know, maybe be able to feed them. That kind of.
Well, I mean, no. I mean, simple questions like, are you going to use vaccines for your kids, or is the Earth round? I mean, those simple questions. I'm not looking for PhD or very complicated stuff. Just those things, simple things. I mean, is 2 + 2 what? I'm also good for multiple choices. Like 2 + 2 is 3, 4, Wednesday, or black. If you can answer that question, you're good enough. But you'd be surprised.
Sadly, I probably wouldn't be surprised. That's the biggest problem.
Well, I think people would argue that, if all of our parents had to pass these same tests, like many of them would have failed, right? And like, does that weave us with an unjustified existence? I don't know if it does, but I think you could say that it might be too strict, right? Like that people can be good parents despite not having certain skills that we might see as essential.
Well, yeah, but just the
take
act of
Sokka, for
getting-
example. Yeah.
Well, I mean, think of how easy
my parents
it
were
is.
great. Something just went wrong with me.
Oh, okay. So it was just a freak of nature, I guess.
And if you
It
think
happens.
about how easy it is just to get like a license for a car, but at least it weeds out the people who have no ability to take on that responsibility. So, Fabio said, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to get a PhD to be a parent, but you should at least have basic understanding. And are you going to vaccinate? Are you going to vaccinate this kid? That would be, to me, that'd be a deal breaker. I mean, I'm sorry, but or at least if you're not going to vaccinate the kid, where are you going to live? So you're not going to take out half the population because of your stupidity.
Yeah, Fabio, I'd love to have Floyd in here. That's great. Thanks, man.
Yeah, there you go.
But you already did that. Fine. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission.
I mean, I just ask you and pretend not to understand what you said, so I'll do whatever the fuck I want anyway. But I asked you before, so see.
You're a true friend, buddy.
Yes, I'm kind of like that.
Floyd, how are you?
Fine, thanks.
Hey, Floyd, how you doing?
Yeah, I think you haven't been thrown away for a newer model.
Newer model. This thing, you really can't regulate breeding, because I mean, think of all the children that are born out of wedlock. I mean, you're kind of assuming that people are going to have kids that, after they get married, and that's not the case at all really anymore.
But Floyd, I think there's an easy fix to that. Is that, and I know this is going to come across to a lot of people as I don't know, unthinkable, but I'm telling you, most of vasectomies are pretty easily reversed now. And I know that there's probably 10 or 20% that aren't successful when they're being reversed. But at least at the present time, we have plenty of kids up for adoption that those people could help those kids. So the key is you have a vasectomy at 10, 12 years old, and then at that point, once you get your license, now you get the vasectomy reversed. Or with women, put in an IUD at the same deal. And granted, you're going to have a couple of unwanted pregnancies or unplanned pregnancies, even with those steps being put into place. But we definitely cut down on a lot of
things about this that are just a bad idea. Like it just. Like I want to be on the council that decides who breeds.
Well, I think
people would like it. But...
Yeah, no, I think Ned's onto something. Like if it was the default that you just couldn't breed right from the get-go, and then you had to obtain a special license to even consider that possibility, I think it would make people think about it more. And we definitely wouldn't have the same restrictions on sexual activity that I think we experience now. But like I think there's a real problem that like we wouldn't be able to enforce it completely. There's like always the danger that what's going to end up being is it'll be a de facto saying that people who are too poor can't reproduce, right? Like where simply being limited in your financial abilities might render you like illegitimate or ineligible to have kids. And I don't know. That means, is that really what we want to say, that poor people can't have kids?
Yes. Wait. Right. No. I don't know. What?
Yeah, it's hard to decide, right? Like I think we're talking about like people's ability to take care of kids, and in some senses, like money can cover over a lot of stupidity, right? Like having rich, stupid parents might not like render you an illegitimate child or like make you less likely to succeed in life, right? But I think that there are attitudes that maybe we're trying to address rather than financial means that like really like what we're talking about, right? Like we don't want stupid people breeding because they tend to breed more stupid people. And so I think like if that's the message we're trying to say, then I think we have to distinguish that between like being rich and being poor in that situation.
Oh yeah, I would definitely say that it just like having a car or having anybody can go out and for the most part take the driver's test. Now they may not have the means to actually get a vehicle or pay for the insurance that they need to be able to drive that car legally. But that doesn't stop them from getting the license. They can still take the test. And then from that point, then you can apply that or not. If you want to take on the responsibility of buying a car and the upkeep and all the other stuff that goes with it, good on you. But you can still be a licensed driver without purchasing a car. And in the same way, you make the test that would allow you to become a parent, free to the public. Anybody can go take the test and get their, whenever they have the means or want to take on that responsibility, they just go to the doctor and have it reversed.
And it's really sad that we're even out seriously entertaining the idea to have a license to have a kid, because if you think about it, it's quite it's quite harsh. But I think that all of us at the bottom of our mind, they think, okay, that's not really a very stupid idea.
Well, no, I don't. I mean, I'll put it this way, Fabio. I would have loved to have been circumcised, or not circumcised. I was, but I would have loved to have been, at least temporarily sterilized when I was 10 or 12 years old. It would have made my 20s to my 30s very much more relaxing every month. I'll put it that way. So, and I'll be honest with you, I couldn't have passed the damn test until I was probably 35 years old. I wasn't responsible enough to be a parent, but I didn't want to be either. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think on a lot of, realistically, it's never going to happen. Way too many people that look at it as I think they look at it as more of a right to do that than they do to pretty much anything else. I mean, so it's not going to happen, but it's fun to play with.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's like as a thought experiment, it's interesting to see. Okay, but how far can we go down this rabbit trail before that we realize that that's too much interference in something. And I don't think it has to be that far. I mean, because every single scenario that you could possibly put out there, it's just like, well, what happens if we just don't limit what happens if we don't limit the right for people to breed? Let's just say that if you don't pass the test, then you don't get certain incentives for the government. And it's like, well, that's just going to create a like a subclass of kids that like don't have the extra support needed because their parents were too stupid to take the test in the first place. Like that just seems like they'll create more of a separation between those type of people.
I mean, I don't know. I would be happily limited to kids and not think about everything else. And as far as I know, it would be really simple questions. The kind I said before. Are you going to vaccinate your kids? Or if you earn 100, how much are you allowed to spend? That kind of things. Things like do you remember to breathe every time? That kind of things. And you'd be astonished by the increased quality of general population.
Well, what's the criteria again? I would think the criteria would really come down to can you afford kids?
Well, that's okay, yeah. But even that's very kind of arbitrary. Like how would you designate what the appropriate rate for that is? Because I mean, like I know people that are on fixed incomes, not fixed income, like very low income households, like my sister-in-law, for example. And she does fine because she's responsible enough with her money, that when she budgets herself, she's she make sure that the kid stuff goes before her. Now, it doesn't matter how much money you have or what income bracket you're in. If you don't know how to budget your money and how to put it away, or set aside a certain amount for the kids, well, then you're not going to be able to. Then it doesn't matter whether you can afford it or not. You're just not going to have you have to have the certain maturity, the certain lifestyle to accommodate children.
Yeah, and also, I mean, 4 kids is really loose. I mean, what do you mean by 4 kids? Because I know people which are so idiotic that they raise people which are even more idiotic. They can't tie their own shoes and they're 40. So, I mean, you mean 40 kids up until they die, or if you're really an idiot and you win the lottery, that means you can have a lot of moronic people. Which, if I'll go for simple basic tests.
Well, I mean, I agree, but there's also like these interesting problems. I mean, I don't have kids, so I'm sort of on the outside looking in here. But you do see people who tend to spend way too much on their kids, like who tend to buy their kids more stuff than they could ever use or need, and tend to fill their toy rooms with just massive amounts of toys, like that more than a kid could play with in a year. And like you start to wonder, like, does it really cost all that much to have a kid? Like, is it really more your addiction to shopping and like you're putting it through, like you're getting your rocks off through your kid in that respect, like I think people get the thrill of buying their kid a new thing, and they don't realize that like kids don't always need the latest greatest thing out there. It's I don't know. Especially me growing up, I never got to have all the newest toys, and I don't feel like it. Well, I don't know. I'm an adult who lives in a basement suite full of comic books, so it's hard for me to say if that was a successful parenting tactic. But I mean, what do you think about that, Sokka? Like, do you feel that same urge to buy your kids like a lot of various toys? Like I know there's a lot of stuff that's you just need, like car seats and stuff like that. But it does seem to me like sometimes parents go a little overboard. And like, is that part of what we're talking about when it comes to being able to afford kids, right? Like, is there a minimum level that kids have to be supported at? And I don't know, that seems very financial in my mind. Like we would almost have to quantify it with how much people could afford to give their kids every year.
Well, I'll tell you that if you want to take a look at the breakdown of how much money I spend on my kids, and toys are probably the best investment. Okay, because like first off, like I think let's put the 3 main things that I spend money on when it comes to my kids. Well, 4. Okay, obviously food. Okay, the food cost for having kids is huge. The amount that will probably be the top, the highest amount that I spent on my kids has to come down to just keeping them fed. After that, clothes, because it's amazing how fast kids grow and how often you have to constantly replenish their wardrobes with stuff. After that, extracurricular activities, whether it's karate, swimming, hockey, soccer, that shit is fucking expensive. Like, my kid's karate. My kid does karate, does sparring, fights and tournaments. My oldest there, and I spend about $150 a month on that, just on the registration fee for him to be at the place where he's fighting. And then after that, toys. Well, I can tell you that I'm not, and sorry, and the $150 for karate, that's just for karate. It doesn't take into consideration soccer or swimming or any of the other stuff that I pay for as well. So, going out and buying my kid a, $30, $40 toy, I can do that, twice a month if I wanted to, get him a brand new toy. And it's still less than what I'd spend on fucking everything else, for him. But so, and he gets the most play out of it is like all the times when he's not doing the swimming, he's not doing anything else, when he's hanging around the house, because kids are fucking they get bored really easily, and it's like, oh, just go here, have fun, play with this. But I mean, we also send our kid outside all the time, like let's he plays, there's a lot of I live in a military housing, so there's a lot of kids, military families around here, so there's a lot of other kids he can play with. But then it's just like all the stuff that they play with outside, again, more sports equipment, Nerf guns, all that stuff. The stuff that I want to, give them to encourage him to be outside. So, I mean, but the thing is, all those stuff that we buy, when we talk about all the toys there, that's a drop in the bucket compared to just the overall cost of what you have to buy, pay for your kids.
Yeah, and those are all the things that you can put a direct correlation with money. Because if you take into account the time and mental sanity that you spend on them, which is really tough to give a value of that. But you know, at the end of the day, it's a big chunk of money. You know that too. So
Yeah, I mean, like if you break down my pay, I get about $42 an hour, and you know, when I come home and my kids get my hourly rate, my hourly time, my time at no
Yes.
charge, like, gee, I'm just throwing
No.
away potential income there.
no. It's worse than that, because that I think is your hourly rate on a day. But if they ask you to work at night, it will be double that, you know, or you know, a third
Mhm.
more. So, and
Yeah.
this is where actually you have to spend more time on.
You have
So,
to put the time and a half on their account, and you can charge them when they turn
I should,
18.
I should bill my kids like $60 to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and change diapers. You know, that's
Just start keeping a ledger, Sokka, so when you get old and they bitch about having to come and pay for your rehab and watch you whatever. Oh no, they're you're way in arrears. They are, as far as what they owe you because of the first 15 or 20 years that you raised them. That's what that's for.
exactly.
It'd be great if we can get to a Star Trek society where you don't have to care about money anymore. You just find out what you're good at, and then that's what you do. And you don't have to worry about
Socialism.
you don't have to worry about material, getting material items or anything like that. You can pretty much replicate anything you need.
well, on the other
Whatever
end,
you say,
Floyd,
comrade.
yeah. Well, I mean, on the other end, Floyd, if you go to a Star Trek society, it makes you wonder where all the idiot people are sent to, and I think they're sent to spaceships with red shirts. So I don't know about that. You know.
It's all about the color of the shirt. You're right.
Yes.
Oh, but one thing, Sokka, how old is your son so far? How old are your kids?
9, 3, and less than 1.
Your 9-year-old's getting just about old enough. I've got an 8-year-old. And I'll tell you, one of the best things that I ever got them, and I'm sure there's people going to be out there that are going to hate me for this, but you get them a cheap cell phone that will do apps like gaming apps, and you want to talk about the ultimate in control. If I want my son to do anything, all I have to do is just walk up there and say, do this, and if he doesn't move when I will need him to, go, okay, you've lost your phone for a day. I guarantee you he will sprint out the door to do whatever he needs to do. I mean, it is. I've got an 8-year-old and I've got a 16-year-old, and either one of them, if I threaten to take away that phone, oh my! And not only that, but we don't let them just play the phone or play on the computer, as much as they want. So they have an allocated amount of time, and if they want to buy more time, then they have to do more chores, or they have to, whatever we want them to do, or playing outside or whatever. But they build time usage on the phone or on the computer based on what they do throughout the day or the week. And I'm telling you, man, my wife is the one who suggested we do it for my daughter first, just because she's in high school now and it's hard to keep track of her without a phone and whatever. And I was against it, but man, now that we have them, I never have to threaten. I never have to yell. I never have to, I don't have to be the bad guy. I just go, okay, we're taking your phone for the rest of the day. And it's
Ned, just let me tell you one thing. I mean, that's a very good approach. You will have to change it really fast. And let me tell you, I've got 2 kids, 24 and 22. It works now. It will not work in a short amount of time. So be prepared to a massive switch in your approach, because it's not going to work for a long time.
Oh, I'm sure when my daughter's the one I'm worried about. She's, she turned 16 and or whatever. And
give me a phone call in a couple of years. I'll be more than happy to give you some hints so you do not repeat my mistakes if I can. Just
absolutely, I will be all over that.
Oh, fucking advice from Fabio. How useless.
Oh, but that's a beautiful picture you have as your avatar. I wonder how the fuck did you manage to shot that beautiful picture? It seems like it has been shot with a camera which is worth at least $7 million.
What is it up to now?
I think that that kind of photograph. It seems to be it has been shot with a camera that is worth at least $7 million. I think.
$7 million. Oh, you think?
Worth every penny.
Oh, man, I don't even think the lens costs that much.
That's what you said, man.
And Fabio, you were carrying around this super expensive camera just like, casually. Didn't you think that somebody would steal it?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
I mean, I was in your house, so.
Well, it wouldn't have been as likely as you throwing away my garlic.
Yeah, that wasn't me. So, fuck you.
All right, I'm going back to cooking. Keep giving bad advice.
Oh, you're not dead yet? I saw the cat. I thought you were dying. So.
Oh, no.
I just figured he was lurking in the background, hoping we would play that video that we made, and that way he could formulate some type of reaction to it before actually being put on the spot. That's what I figured.
Yeah, I mean, we might. Yeah, you might do that, Ned. I think you can do that because he's cooking. So chances are he's gonna burn whatever the fuck is cooking right now.
Oh. I see how it is, Ned. Every week you do not disappoint in blowing my mind about the depth of your douchiness.
Part of the wonderfulness of me, man. It's hard to be this good.
And I keep coming back for more, so. Yeah, I want to see that video, by the way. Not for nothing.
I think you should, Ned.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing is I got to figure out how to do it, because all I have is the raw video. I didn't put it on my channel or anything. Where is it?
Just send it to me, Ned. I'll put it online.
All right, I'll try to. Yeah,
all this
there it is.
We've hyped it 2 weeks in a row now. Now I'm
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't care before, but now I do.
Damn, now I gotta figure
what is this video? What I'm missing here?
All right. Matthew Steele stopped by. He was going to Canada last week, and he came by and stayed in my house for a couple of days. And
he recorded a hashtag #MeToo video, and we're about to drop it on Chris.
Yes.
Kind of. Well, damn.
Yeah, I think you still have the link that I gave it to you, Ned. You can give the link directly to.
The link. Yeah, that'll work.
Awesome.
I didn't think about the link. Hold on, I'll do that.
Yeah, give the link to John to see what the fuck you can do with that.
Yeah, so that's a good idea.
Yeah.
My computer will actually work.
Are you worried, Chris? And even more important. Okay.
Of course I'm worried because you're asking me if you're like volunteering the concept of worriedness.
Even more important is Shanna around?
Yeah, because we need Shanna to be in on this as well.
Yes.
Shanna is not around right now. She has the kids out getting their haircuts because tomorrow's the first day of school.
I think it might be even better if she's not around and she can watch it later on. Because the reaction might be even more precious.
And we all want a precious reaction.
Yes. And I need to grab another beer. So, fuck you guys.
Grab me one too.
All right, I'm just going to drop it in the side chat so everybody can have it. I'm not worried about anybody. Although I do appear on camera, believe it or not, for the very beginning of this. So I'm not that worried about it. But if you want
something I can add to my spank bank.
Sorry. There you go. If that's what you're spanking to, brother, I'm really concerned.
I have pictures I can send you.
Yep, send them all. That's fine.
That should be it, John. That should be a Google.
Got it. I got it bookmarked. Thanks.
No problem, man. Yeah, while you're playing with that, I'm going to follow suit with Fabio and get me another beer, so I'll be right back. You're making me thirsty.
I noticed Barney's in the live chat. Does anybody want to send an invite out to him, or I could do that actually?
I'll do that. Hold on a second. You work on the video, and by the way, if you start the video, I think a couple of minutes later, you don't show net. So it's and it doesn't even matter because the first 2 minutes is just bullshit. So
all right, let's see what I can do here.
Mm-hmm. It seems to me everybody's waiting for that video to play on. So, Bob?
Not working for me. Oh, here we go. Just preview it.
Yeah, just.
I think the rougher it is, the better, because it looks like we really.
Matt Steele's looking good.
Yeah, it does. So, is anybody going to present the video in any way, shape, or form, or we just watching everybody by his own thing?
I can't. So I can't see it.
Yeah, because Christopher cannot see that, and that's the funny thing, you know. He has to see that. If anybody is going to show it, just start from a couple of minutes in, I think, so that there are no faces around. Because Christopher Anus right now is like twitching.
I got no sound.
I love the fact that you're thinking about my anus twitching.
Yes, yes. I mean, just the thought of it gives me the shivers. I don't know why, but.
I'm back, and I too quite often think of Mouty's anus twitching. So.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess on occasion, but I mean, I wouldn't say all the time. Like
not all the time, but
yeah. I mean, yeah. It's one of those things. Like I'll be sitting around watching TV, and then all of a sudden, like, just gonna kind of like little, I wonder what Mouty's anus is like, and then I kind of shrug it off and then go back to whatever I was doing.
Yeah,
right.
Just the normal amount, like everybody.
Yeah. I think, like a perfectly normal amount of curiosity that would go along with knowing whether or not someone bleaches their asshole.
which he doesn't, by the way.
No, which is good. I like that all natural thing.
Yeah. I mean, bleaching his asshole would be a big problem because he shits his pants at least 2 times a month. So
no, I've been much better. My whole colon lower GI system have been much better lately.
Oh yeah, I'm glad to hear that. That's another thought that I can, get off my mind. Thank you.
Well, he's working out, man. I saw the other day. I didn't get a chance to watch it, but some, I don't know, shirtless video about working out. So I figured he was working on sphincter control with everybody in the hangout.
Well, obviously that's where your mind would go when you see something like that. But
I watched that whole hangout, but I just had it on mute. What were you guys talking about?
Well, I saw somebody had it presented. We couldn't hear anything though.
Yeah, sorry about that, Ned. I have it presented. I can't seem to get the sound to work on it, and I'm not really sure if it's my settings or my video player settings. I'll work on that for next week.
Oh, that sounds good to me.
All right.
If you need anything from my end, just let me know. I have no idea other than to give you the link. I did download it, so I've got a copy, but other than that, I don't know if that helped you or not.
There's a good example right there. Ned says, if you need anything from my end, and then, of course, bam, Mouty's ass again. Like, it just... it's amazing how it just pops up like that.
I know, isn't it?
I'm creating a Ned soundboard. It's for personal use, though.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair enough.
I figured it would be like the G-Man soundboard.
I actually have a Ned inspired anime pillow.
Wow.
Yeah, that I sleep with. Yeah,
You
it's Ned as an anime character that I can cuddle with at night.
I'd like to see that. I would definitely. That would be interesting to look at.
Oh yeah, no, that's cool. So, the pictures are on my Instagram.
I don't have Instagram. That's the problem. I remember I'm an old guy. I'm still AOL, man. Not literally. What's funny is my parents are literally still AOL. That's where their primary email is.
They still, America Online still has 3 million customers across the U.S. right now.
Really? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see what their average age, the demographic breakout of that. That would be very interesting just to see. Because it's got to be 70 or 80. I can't see anybody younger than that even knowing what AOL is, let alone using it.
Verizon switched their email service over to AOL.
Really?
They outsourced. They basically outsourced their their email to AOL. So I guess AOL does business like that.
Does it come up as AOL whenever you're looking at it, or?
No. I still have my Verizon email address. I guess you can port email addresses over, but like I use the AOL mail app on my phone, and I think if I want to access my mail via the web, I go out to AOL, like mail.aol.com. But I log in and use my Verizon email address.
That's interesting. I just always told my parents one of these days they're going to wake up and it's just not going to work because the last person at AOL is going to either die off or I don't know.
Yeah,
remember Net Zero? I think Net Zero would be gone.
I just looked it up, and 2.1 million dial-up customers still use AOL as of May 8th, 2015.
Wow.
So dial-up is still a thing. That's another thing that's surprising. I would have thought there would have been almost no one with dial-up anymore. Over 2 million people with dial-up is, wow. I don't even have a landline in my house, which with my wife, the Air Force really doesn't like a whole lot, but I'm not going to pay for a line just for that.
Yeah, it's that's one of those things like that recently came up is that they have this this new yeah, you can play with that, but they got this new thing. What? Yeah, just don't leave a mess. Okay, cool. Yeah, don't worry, buddy. It wasn't like I was doing anything before you came in here. You know, just. Yeah.
Oh, this will get messy.
It will get messy. Then do it outside.
Okay.
Do you need help with it? Do you want me to do that with you?
I'm okay if I get help.
Okay, yeah, sure. Give me a few minutes. I'll come give you a hand.
Yeah. So.
Okay, I'll give you a hand. Let me just finish up here. Okay.
And you just have to so
Yeah, no, that's cool. I get it. I got the basic gist of it. I was a kid once too. I had one of those little things.
I still have a bunch of stuff.
Wow, you're still talking. Okay, sorry. Fuck.
You need to pay more money. That kid is not distracted enough.
There was
That exchange was amazing. I loved everything about it. It ended perfectly. Wow, you're still talking. I love it.
Well, I'm gonna do this little crystal mining kit thing that he has with him because I love doing those activities there. But it's when he walks into a room, he's just like, "I'm here now. Let's just talk." I'm like, maybe just give me a few minutes. Let me finish up here. And
well, you should be flattered that he wants to talk to you so bad.
I know it's so annoying. Wait, sorry, you said flattered?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Man, I'm telling you, dude, you cherish those because in about another 3 or 4 years, they're not going to want to talk to you at all.
Promise?
Yeah, I promise.
No, but what I was saying was that we have to submit our cell phone numbers to this mass notification system now. So if the military can do these calls where they can call up and just this is a test of the mass notification system. But anyway, the thing is that we were required to, just like that. You had to give all this, all of our cell phone information, all this stuff there. And I didn't want to. And I said to them, it's like, listen, you know what? That's fine. If there's something that's big enough that you need to call me back into work, I'm sure I'll hear about it on the news. Okay. But I don't want to give you this information. And then they basically said that I had to. I was like, okay, well, great. Well, then where's my military issued cell phone? Okay. Because I'm not going to give you how do you guys even know that I have a cell phone other than the fact that you have my contact information already? What happens if I didn't? Are you going to provide people with a cell phone? So why do I have to give you my information for this?
Now we had to do the same thing, especially when we were both teaching at the Air Force Academy. We were on big time notification all the time, and it started off being kind of handy. It was nice because if the base was closed or something happened, then you didn't waste the time coming in and whatever. But it got to the point where they literally were starting to send notifications on what the cafeteria was serving that day, at the mess hall. So the phone's just going off all the damn time. But I didn't even think of opting out. That wasn't even an option. It was just like, okay, we got to do this now.
Really? I found that when I got to about the 10-year mark with the military, I started taking in consideration how many things I could just opt out of, because there's so many things so many ways that the military kind of forces its way into aspects of your life.
Oh, I know, absolutely, and that's what I'm saying. I always looked at it as just kind of, well, that's part of it. You're going to work here if you're going to, kind of sign up for it. It's part of the deal. But I never thought of opting out, man. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's if I go camping with my kid, like I did last weekend, I don't want to get a phone call saying, that I have to come in and do something. I'm out right now. There's nothing. I know what my position is right now. I'm not on a high readiness ship. I'm not doing anything too important. There's nothing that can come up that I can't do on Monday.
Do you have to tell them when you're out of pocket like that?
Yeah, I gotta send what is it? There's a geographical area on the island that once you go past certain points, you have to have a leave pass, even if it's on the weekend, just to saying hey, I'm going to be out of area.
I figured that's kind of same as what we had.
Yeah. But on that note, I'm gonna hang out with the big annoying one, and I will be back. Well, probably not for this call, but anyway, I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, man.
Peace out, Zaga. Thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Yeah, not a problem. Talk to you later.
So, what were we talking about again? The military. You got so being in the military. I mean, do you feel like it takes over your life in some sense? Like,
Well, there's absolutely, you know, my wife had the best description of it ever when she was giving a talk to some high school kids. She said, you know, once you sign up, don't ever trust what a recruiter is going to tell you, because they're going to tell you, you know,
people and sort of merge with somebody who's fairly consistent in their behavior and sort of, I don't know, they seem good at that anyways.
Oh, they will promise you anything. I mean, they'll tell you you'll be flying F-15s in a year. You know, I mean, whatever it takes to get you to sign on that bottom line. But the deal is once you're part of the military, you go where they need you, and that's it. You don't. There's not an option. I mean, for lack of a better term, they own you for that, whatever your duty commitment is. You're part of it. And I mean, on one hand, that sounds kind of bad, but on the other hand, especially with the way that, you know, we've had things work out, man, it's been worth it. I mean, just the education alone it's just amazing. But you know, you understand that if something comes up, you're going, and it's not an option. Just where do you want me to go, and I got to go there. And it's everything from, you know, if there happened to be something that was, oh, I don't know, critical, like, you know, war or something like that, but even something as benign as, you know, there may be a posting open in, I don't know, one state that you want to go live in that seems exactly the same as this other one, that in another state that you don't want to go to, or a base that you absolutely hate, or, you know, whatever reason you don't want to be there. You can request it, but at the end of the day, if they say, nope, we want you to go to, you know, option, or not option B, but the second one that you didn't want to go to, you don't have a choice. You're going. There's no flexibility there at all. Which, and to be honest, some people really like it. Other people, it drives them nuts. Another thing that people I don't think really understand the big difference is officer to enlisted. I've got a cousin who's in the Navy. He is about as high as you can get in the enlisted ranks. I mean, he's been there for 26 years, and other than, you know, it's not Master Chief. I can't remember what it is in the Navy, but whatever a Master Chief of the Navy would be the equivalent of, he's pretty damn close to that. But when you look, and all of this is public knowledge, when you look online and see what he makes, how much money he makes per year, compared to what a first year, let's say, guarantee you a captain, which is the third, you got 2 levels of lieutenant, and then you become a captain. So that is about 5 to 8 years in, somewhere in that range, you'll put on captain. That captain's making more than that 25 to 30 year enlisted person. It is just amazing, the difference. And plus the jobs are just, the jobs that the enlisted people have to do suck for the most part. So I tell everybody, spend whatever it takes to get a degree. Don't care what the degree is. Go get the degree, or at least when you go in there, make sure that you're going to be able to, you know, go to OCS or something, get your degree while you're in for your first few years, and then, you know, always have a plan of transferring over to the officer side, because The benefits are so much better. It sucks, but officers are treated 10 times better. It's sad because there's a lot of really, really good, dedicated, enlisted people that, in my opinion, just get screwed over, really screwed over.
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
Everybody can still hear me? All right.
Yep.
Yeah, no, we can. Yeah.
What? I don't know what's going on with my computer right now, but it might be telling me I'm running it a little too fast.
Or it might be that program or that video that Fabio linked us has some super virus that's going to.
It might be, yes.
It's just too hot for my computer, you know. It can sense the chemistry, and it's overheating. Yeah, no, it's I didn't hear anything you guys just said just now, so please continue on.
I was just bitching about the difference between enlisted and officer, at least in the U.S. Armed Forces.
Yeah, is there a difference between like career-mindedness and sort of like a nonchalant attitude towards the military, or
no?
Do you find it's like yeah, it seems to me like everybody's pretty professional when it comes to doing their job.
Yeah, I mean, the big difference is that, like I was saying, that number one, the benefits to being an officer and also the pay are just worlds apart. You can be in as an officer in the first 5 to 10 years, and you'll make more money as a, let's say, captain than someone who has been as an enlisted person for 30 years. I mean, it's not even close. And yeah, I mean, it sucks because you've got really good, dedicated, hardworking, very conscientious enlisted people, and they get screwed over. I mean, there's no other way to put it. There's a lot of things that just absolutely screw them to the wall. So, in short, people, if you're thinking of going to the military, go the officer route. It will definitely work out better in the long run. And that said, I feel very hypocritical because, the Air Force especially has been extremely good to me and my family. I mean, there's no way we probably would be where we are right now without all of that. So.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think there were probably positive and negatives to both military and non-military service, but I think like it's being such a it's one of those obligations that I think that you don't really realize.
Breaking up for you, Fabio?
Yes.
I mean, they're telling you everything you want to hear, and I think you're not really hearing the immense obligation that it's going to put on you.
Yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, they're gonna use you in the way that they need you, not the way that you want to be used. So
is this better, Fabio?
No, it's okay. I think you're breaking up a little bit because me and Ned we hear each other very well, but you break up every so often. So it seems to be either lacking.
This Hangout. That's what you get when Chris neglects to start a Hangout like he's supposed to.
It's all his fault, yeah. But he has a new cat, so he's drowning in pussy right now, literally. So.
It takes me too long to get over here and unmute, but fuck you, Fabio.
There you go. That's the best part of it. The time it takes you to realize what I said and walk all the way in your mansion to unmute. This is brilliant. Now he's walking again. He's coming. He's coming. Any minute now.
I can just see him now. He's furiously washing his hands so he can press the unmute button. Oh.
No, now he's thinking, okay, is it the case that I really have to go there and mute because, they're just making fun of me, so I don't really want to go there and make a comment, or do I really need to go there and unmute myself and say something? It's a conundrum. I understand him.
Yeah, he's probably just having trouble getting the lid off his jar of minced garlic.
Yeah, what's left of it?
I do not have a problem getting the lid off my goddamn jar of garlic. I'm not ashamed. There is no shame in my game when it comes to the jarred minced garlic that I use.
Well, there was a problem.
What I think he's having problems getting open is that new bottle of what was it? Italian seasonings, right?
Yes, that was a problem. I guarantee you it was.
Okay, all right. I will happily take the blame for that. Although, just the way that it was done completely blew my mind. You had to grab me out of the kitchen and point at your wife in my backyard, pouring out my Italian seasoning for me to even realize it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And you say you didn't have a part in it.
I didn't.
What is it that you said to your wife?
No, I just showed it to her and told her, look at this.
And then you said this should be thrown out.
I don't think I did. Ti ho detto che dovevo buttarlo via quando siamo andati da Chris. Ti ho detto che dovevamo buttarlo via il coso che ho buttato via, no?
Quale coso, scusa?
Quello che hai tirato via nel giardino.
Sì, mi hai detto di tirarlo via.
Sì?
Sì.
Okay, Barbara said that I actually told her to throw it away.
Yeah.
But she never does anything that she's not fully committed to. So, I mean, the fact that I tell my wife to do something and she does, it's a miracle by itself. The fact that she did.
I hope that she punches you so fucking hard right now.
No, she's just in front of me with earphones and she can't understand the flying fuck what I'm saying. Ciao, Passi. Ciao, Passi. Detto che non capisci nulla, tanto c'è le cuffie. See? Look at that. See? She's there. Hey, hi. Hi, ciao.
Hi.
There you go.
Hello.
See? Hello, yeah. It's amazing.
Well,
Anyway, you deserve... Yeah.
First of all, I appreciate that you could change course at the drop of a dime, or on a dime, or at the drop of a hat. Am I mixing my metaphors? Regardless, yes. You completely just acknowledge that you are the one who, in fact, told your wife to throw out the Italian seasoning.
I did. Yeah, there's no shame in that. The only shame is having actually something which is called Italian seasoning.
Well, then why wasn't
what I was about to say
begin with?
Is as a chef, how is this falling on Fabio as doing something wrong?
I don't know. It definitely doesn't sound like Fabio is ashamed. If anything, I'd say he's pretty proud of the fact that he
I'm fucking proud of that. I'm proud for two reasons. I will tell you why. The first one is that it was thrown away. And the second one is that it turned out that I told something to my wife and she actually did that. So I'm twice as proud.
The reason why I think that he's ashamed of it is because why wouldn't that have been his consistent story from the beginning? Like, haha, that's right, asshole. I told her to throw it out. But he's like, no, I didn't even tell my wife, or blah, blah, blah. Then he finds out the truth. He's like, yeah, I told her.
Yeah, I told her, yeah. Because I'm a big man, I can recognize when I'm wrong, and there is nothing to be ashamed of.
But the whole lead up to you being a big man was lying about what actually happened.
No. I wasn't lying. I was recalling wrong. And once I've been proven right, or wrong, actually, I just said, yeah, I was wrong. There is no problems in that. I'm a big man.
Go fuck yourself. I have to put chicken on the grill. I got to go put chicken on the grill.
All right, well, I'll talk behind your back then.
Oh, yeah.
To me, what it sounded like is that you walk into quote unquote a chef's house, someone who claims to cook, and
Yes.
find a bottle of whatever that is, Italian seasoning, and it's just obvious that that needs to be thrown away.
Absolutely.
So how that happens doesn't matter. He didn't have to tell it. I'm sure his wife felt the same way. That what is this? We got to go throw that away. So
I have a working theory that Fabio and his wife realized that Chris has figured out the secret of Italian cooking, and it's all just in one bottle of Italian seasoning. And so they're desperately trying to hide the evidence. But no, we know their secret.
Well, I can guarantee. I mean, okay, I will do better than that. I will reimburse you the plane ticket if you fly to my house and you drive in Italy for as long as you can and find me a bottle which says Italian seasoning. I will reimburse you the tickets and all the expenses.
I'll probably find an Italian seasoning tree you have it just growing out there wild.
You will not be able to find it. I can fucking guarantee you that.
Well, all right. Well, I'll have to test that out, I guess, Fabio.
Yes, be my guest.
Should I bring you a can of Italian seasoning just in case?
Well, no, it has to be bought in Italy and with the proper receipt. So yeah, there is that.
No, I'd love to come out and visit you sometime, Fabio. That would be wonderful. I'd really like to get out to Tuscany at some point.
Yeah. Hunting for Italian seasoning. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. I'll start filming a documentary.
Yes, the hunt for Italian seasoning.
Yeah. just going out there to prove you Italians have you've fooling us with your fresh ingredients and your
which we import from China or from some Vietnam or some other place. Yeah.
Oh, now that the veil's coming down, you can just admit it to us, Fabio.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You've been ordering Italian from the place across the bay there.
I would not go as far as telling you that you cannot find grinded garlic, because I'm afraid you might find it in some obscure shop which sells shit. But Italian seasoning, I'm betting my money on that.
Okay. I don't know. So, do you ever head out to the Canadian food restaurants when you're out in Italy?
The concept of a Canadian restaurant is, I think, I don't think there is one in Italy. I mean, I can check it if I can find one, but
they have American restaurants there.
No,
American food?
I mean, unless you, well, if you consider McDonald's an American restaurant, then yes, the answer is yes.
No, I meant more like there's places here. Oh, you've been here. Like I would consider. Oh, I don't know.
Well, a steakhouse. We have steakhouse. Yeah,
but I don't know if I'd consider that American. More like have you ever been to a Cracker Barrel? You know what I'm talking about with one of those?
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, I walk in front of it. Never been. Yeah.
That I would consider to be an American food type establishment. No.
I don't think you can find. Well, I mean, you can find places where they can serve full English breakfast around here, probably. Well, no, you can actually. I know a couple of places. But an American restaurant, I mean, I wouldn't even know where the fuck to begin to define an American restaurant. I mean, what do you sell in an American restaurant? It's like
fried like barbecue, fried catfish, biscuits and gravy.
Yeah, I mean, you could go with po' boys, or there's lots of regional stuff that you could get going.
Oh,
like
yeah,
po' boys,
I mean that
Philly cheesesteaks. Even a big New York sirloin steak, right? Would be.
No, I mean, I understand that's the problem. Is it would be like trying to find an European restaurant. It doesn't make sense. You'll find dishes from Spain to Hungary. It doesn't. It's going to be really hard.
this might be off topic, but is there International House of Pancakes in Italy?
No, not enough. Let me check before saying. I said no. I realized I was a little bit too sure, but I don't think there is.
So I'm just being fooled by the name then.
Yeah, that would be interesting to see if there is really any international franchises or stores, or if they're all constrained within the U.S. borders.
Yeah, it does seem like a very specifically American meal, right? Stacks of pancakes covered in whipped cream and chocolate syrup.
Yep.
Let's have cake for breakfast. Okay.
I don't think there is an International House of Pancakes in Europe.
What? Not in Europe? Yeah. Oh, come on! Not even in Belgium.
I don't think so.
You think they would just open it there for the name alone? You know?
Yeah, right. You would expect to be international, but well, I mean, it's international. As in, if you find one in the U.S. and one in Mexico or one in Canada, it is international. So
yeah, North American, I guess. Doesn't sound as good. The North American House of Pancakes. Actually, that sounds pretty good.
I think there are in the U.S., Canada, Mexico, and Guatemala, and that's much. Nice. Yeah,
I bet you that's a killer IHOP down there.
Oh yeah, in Guatemala, fuck it. I'm
famous for their pancakes in Guatemala.
Right.
Making me hungry, guys.
What is the name of the coffee chain?
Starbucks?
Yeah, Starbucks. Okay, because I think there is only one in Italy. I think.
Really?
Yes, there is only one in Italy, in Milan, and that's it.
Well, that does make sense, though. That once you think about it, when you get real coffee versus kind of the McDonald's of coffee.
There's something wrong with McDonald's coffee?
Well, the McDonald's of coffee is what I would consider Starbucks.
Oh, I know what you mean, yeah. Yeah, it's an expensive cup of coffee. And a lot of times, I don't know, I don't find it's even as good as some of the other brands. But
yeah, not at all. I'd rather make my own coffee at home than get Starbucks.
Yeah, there is only one in Italy, one Starbucks in Italy, and it's in Milan.
So you probably travel down there to get your morning coffee every morning?
Oh yeah. Yeah, because that makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah, hop in your car and drive down.
Because I'm sure Italy doesn't have any better coffee at all than Starbucks.
No, they probably just hearing about coffee in the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, probably.
Have you heard of this thing called espresso, Fabio?
Oh yeah, I think I do.
Okay.
But that's a funny thing you mentioned. When we go abroad, we never ask. I don't think I've ever been in an Italian restaurant abroad, or that I recall of. But one of the most interesting things when you go abroad is actually try to taste what the locals taste. That's part of the experience, right? So you don't want to have some half-assed thing which is coming from where you are, so that you can draw a comparison, and it doesn't make any sense. So I actually enjoy when in any place I might be, to try to eat what the locals do. It makes for the whole experience way more interesting and real.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think I try to do that whenever I get out to wherever I'm at, right? But I think for North Americans, it's a different situation, because we have Italian and Chinese food and Mexican food restaurants here, and then we go abroad and we end up like seeing Italian food restaurants, like when we're out in Thailand or something like that, right? And like so, there's like sort of this weird curiosity we have that like, what do these people think Italian food tastes like, or like because I think there is these weird like location specific changes to the food that happen when it comes to like Italian food or it comes to Chinese food here, especially where like we have a lot of like Chinese food that like Chinese people would never heard of or like would never think of making, right? Like we have these weird dishes that like people kind of take on in these localities that aren't necessarily authentic Asian or Italian dishes.
Yeah, I lost a bet in college because I couldn't believe that General Tao's chicken was not actual Chinese food.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, right? Like it becomes so accepted, and so there's just, I mean, so many Chinese food restaurants serving the same dish. You feel like it has to be authentic, but it's interesting that like we don't really hold to that here in America.
I think it's, I don't want to sound pompous, but it has a lot to do with heritage. And I mean, for example, when Ned was talking about his house before, and he said, yeah, my house has been built in the 60s, and stuff is pretty old, and I was genuinely blown away because if my house would have been built in the 60s, it would be 40 years younger than what it actually is, because my house was built in the 20s. So it's part of of where you grow. It's part of where you live. It's it's really strange, because sometimes people from abroad, they come to visit me, and we go visit some nearby cities, and I walk with them, and I try to tell them to show, okay, yeah, I mean, this part was built by the Romans, and this part is coming from the 10th century and stuff, and they look at things, and I look at what they look, and it's very interesting because I see things that I've never seen, and I've been living here for all my life, literally. So but I understand that they are part of me because it's kind of weird, but just by walking by, you kind of absorb, the architecture, the aesthetics of the place you live in, and all the traditions which follow by, because you live them. Nobody teaches you about your real roots, your real heritage. It's something that you grow into, and you become part of it, and you eventually evolve, that kind of things. So it's really interesting and fascinating.
Now that you say that makes sense because where we live here, I think it was established in 1870 or something. So there's some houses that are quote unquote old. Well,
yeah.
Relative to where you live, 1870 is that's just a common. Probably half the buildings are older than that where you live.
There is a city nearby from where I live that is completely surrounded by walls. Those walls were built in the 1500s, so they are 500 years old.
Yeah.
All the houses inside are at least that old, but 3 houses which were built in the 20s. And it's a proper city. It's not a museum. It is a city. Yeah. People live there. They have shops. They walk by. They do things. So yeah, it is really interesting, to come from this kind of environment, to other kind of environments will tell you, yeah, this is really old. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is as much old as the house I live in, which is considered nice house. So yeah. But it's very interesting to see how things are done, abroad. Like, for example, you will hardly find a house built out of wood in Italy or in Europe, for that matter. While I understand it's pretty common in the U.S.
Oh yeah, every house. I mean, especially the framing and the all of the roofing and everything else. Now there may be, but it's more aesthetic than structural. They may have stone on the outside or brick, but but it's not a structural component. It's just because it looks better.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's almost nobody that builds a house out of brick or out of stone.
No, but the interesting thing is that if you're able to travel abroad and look at things with different eyes, you can take things back to where you live. Like, for example, I mean, wood houses they're starting to build some of them around here, and they're really efficient. They're really good. It's only that nobody thought about that, because of the history around here. You build houses with bricks because people were trying to smash your houses. You build, moats and walls because of historical reasons. And that's something which goes back in the culture. When you build a house, of course, you build a house with bricks and mortar and, and cement, that kind of stuff. But like, for example, one thing which really astonished me in the UK is that in a lot of houses, they build the pipes outside the house, which is fucking brilliant if you ask me, because anybody which has got a problem with a toilet drain or stuff like that, they know what the fuck it means to break a wall to find a pipe.
Oh yeah, just like I did last week. I had to chip up the whole floor of my kitchen just to get to one stupid little pipe that had started leaking.
Right. So, I mean, last time when they had a clogged pipe, in my bathroom, and so I had to basically run a line through the boiler to the bathroom, I said, I called the plumber and said, I want an external pipe. And it took me quite some convincing for him to do that. But now I've got an external pipe, which is, if it has a problem, I can see the bloody pipe is there, and you can fix it very easily. And it's not that it's a punch in the eye. You can paint it the same color with the house, and that's pretty much okay. So it's from that point of view, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I think it ties into the idea of a throwaway society, right? Where I think it's not entirely North America's fault for sort of relying on those sort of temporary means of building houses. Wood was plentifully available, and I think if you're looking at just like the materials available to us, like it would have been cheaper for us to use the wood that we were taking off the land and all that stuff. So it's and I think in Europe it's less available wood, obviously. So I think there's in some senses.
I would say that the reasons were different. If you were to go in the US and you drive with a convoy of people going in some country, and you got to build a house fast because there are buffaloes and hostile environment. You need wood because it's going to make you build a house really fast. It's sturdy. It's working. So that's it. If you live in Europe, the problem is people which are trying to smash into your house. So you need to build bricks and and a wall around. So the concept is different.
Yeah, because if you look at the Native Americans when Europeans came over here, they were no threat at all to a wooden fort. They didn't have siege weaponry. They had never developed anything because their culture never called for it.
Right.
Whereas Europe, they had siege weapons for 1,000 years. So you've got to put up big walls and some type of material that can withstand that, at least short term, to where you can defend yourself.
So that's the kind of thing which goes by, and that's what I meant about the heritage which becomes part of your culture. You just start doing things. You don't really know why you're doing things that way, but it's just because it has been done for decades. And if you look at the real reasons, you have to go way far back in the past, and you realize, okay, those are not really good reasons, but I'm still doing things that way. So
yeah, like I think there's a good example here in North America where we have these sort of building codes that tend to set minimum square footage allowable for houses, which is like, that's a very strange thing, right? Like in Europe, that's like not even like really a consideration, right? Like you you'd build to whatever size the people needed, right? And I think it's very strange to like see people, like developers, being forced to sell or to build houses at like over 2,000 square feet because there's a minimum size that they have to build to. And I think that's, we could be doing better with our land use in the way that, like, I think North America especially has like a pretty bad problem with suburban sprawl. And I think that, we sort of create these communities that sort of depend on us to be always driving our car around for every little errand and every little thing we do, right? And we don't really have anything in our neighborhoods that we can walk to or bike to. And I don't know. I mean, to me, it seems like we sort of waste all this extra space and build houses that are too big for our real, like, what we actually need them for. And I think it just it just becomes a question of whether or not, like, we really want to build to the purpose of what we want to use this thing for. And like whether or not we have the freedom to do that in the current system, right? Like I think you're right that, like, it seems to be like we just do it like this because this is how we've always done it, right? Like we've created these codes and these ways of doing things, and we don't really allow any sort of modification, or we push against like people who are trying to do things more efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in America especially, the bigger, badder, whatever. The house we moved out of in Chicago, it was only 1,500 square feet, which, that's plenty big enough for us. I mean, even though when we first looked at it, we were a little hesitant, but when we figured out how we could make the floor plan work, there was no problem. And it being on a river was, the main reason that we went there. Then we come up here, and now we have a house. I mean, this house is almost 6,000 square feet, which is, I mean, it's nice. Don't get me wrong. I've got, my big office, and I can spread out, and everybody has their own place. But we're a family of four. We don't each need over 1,000 square feet to live. I mean, it's crazy. But at the same time, this is not considered that big of a house around here. It's not, it's not anything that's amazing, or it's not a mansion by any means. It's not Mouty's house, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, Mouty's house is a bloody mansion. But you mentioned Chicago. I mean, Chicago has a density of like 85 people for a square kilometer. Yeah, Italy has got 200 people for a square kilometer. So, I mean, that gives you a rough idea. And I took Illinois just because you mentioned Chicago.
I'm pretty sure in Canada we have square kilometers per person, right? Like,
yes.
Yeah. Like Montana here. Montana is.
Yeah, interesting. Like, I mean, I mean, that's one of the things. Like, it's hard to argue against suburban sprawl when, like, really we have so much land. It's the one resource we have, like, plentifully available. And I mean, we can spread out, but like, is it the most efficient way to do it? I don't know. I mean, we're always looking for the cheaper, more cost-effective way of doing things, but I don't think anybody's really asking, like, whether or not this is the best way of doing things, or the way that's going to cost us the least in the long run.
No, especially now. I think it's all immediate gratification, and how fast can I get what I want? There was an interesting thing I saw the other day about how, it was college. How college has to change. It was a TED Talk, and that the model of college is completely opposite to what, at least in America, the new consumerism model is. And if you think about it, everything comes to the consumer now. We don't have to go out for anything. I can literally order anything I want online, and it comes to me. And it's done on my schedule when I want to go. All the businesses have to make sure that they're open 24 hours and they are always fully stocked. And, there's no, I don't have to wait, or I don't have to in any way, shape, or form adhere to any of their scheduling. Whereas college is completely the opposite. You can only go during these hours, especially if you want certain classes. you have to go to them. You can't do it from home. And, it's completely opposite. So what they're saying is the new model of college within the next decade or two that most state schools are going to go to is that it's going to all become online. It's going to turn back into more of an Amazon type pick and choose from college, which I think will be a good thing because it should drive costs down and make it more realistic. Because one of the things that they were saying is that less than half of high school students are even going to college now, and out of those, only about 45% are actually graduating. And the main reason is because of cost, number one, and secondarily because they can't get the classes at the time they need, because the majority of people, because it's so expensive, still have to work while they're going to college now. So if you're working during the day and the math class or whatever you need is only being offered from 9 till 11, you're screwed. You can't get the classes you need. So
yeah, man. Yeah, it seems like sort of a double whammy there. I mean, especially because you're doing your best to sort of better yourself, and yet it doesn't seem like the system is there to sort of support you in that. I don't know. Yeah,
that's what they were talking about. Is it's getting to the point where it's almost only the elite and what I mean by that is like the wealthy, the people who can afford not to. They can take 4 years off of doing anything except going to school, can afford to spend $100,000 and make no money the entire time they're going in, or very little. And it's just going to get to the point where no one can go. You'll have 10% of the population being able to go at all.
Yeah, and it's weird because it seems like it's so much more necessary these days to get that level of education in today's job market. Yeah.
Well, that's what I don't get with the United States is education is so undervalued.
Expensive.
Well, but it's undervalued. I mean, if you go out and you talk to most people and you ask them, what are you doing to learn, right? Like, let's say people our age, Fabio, 50 or more. Now, I mean, my wife, she's going back to school now to get a second PhD.
Mm-hmm.
I, because of necessity, what I do, I have to be learning all the time. I have to take new classes. I literally have to go in and get new training. But if you ask most people, when's the last time you took any kind of class, either for fun or because, your job required it? Most of my friends, it's 20, 30 years since they've done any kind of learning. And
well, it's also bloody expensive. That's another problem.
Yeah, that's the other bit. That's the other end of it. I mean, I will tell them. I don't know if anybody watching this, if you're not aware of Coursera and edX, ED, and then X is an X-ray. Those are free online courses, and they're from really good schools. I'm talking MIT, Berkeley. I mean, being able to transfer that and get credit for it can be difficult because a lot of schools don't want to accept those credits in, but you get the information. You can learn online and at least educate yourself for pretty much free. But again, and then you get to the point where, at least in America, it seems like the more educated someone is, the more they're ridiculed, the more they're looked down upon.
Well, I think there is and I understand you, but I think there is a big difference in trying to have an education because you want to be educated, or getting an education because you want to make a better job and stuff like that. Because the former, I understand you, it's waiting on the person. So there are ways to do that. But the other one, at least in the US, is way expensive compared to to the majority of other countries, and you got to keep in balance how much money you spend with how much money you're gonna make if you're lucky to make the job that you've been studied for. And that's a big problem. This is the same problem that I had with one of my kids. He went to university, is graduating this probably next month. And he has been really lucky because he went through a course where there is a lot of you know job offerings for that. But at the beginning, I told him, you better take something that you really like because you might end up being a plumber. And there is nothing wrong with being a plumber. Actually, I would have loved to be a plumber, but don't raise your expectations too high because, life is going to probably throw you a curveball and you got to deal with what you have. And
Yeah,
there is no problem in that, no shame. So do study something that you like because you like, and if you're lucky enough, you will find a job in that sector. If you don't, you would have studied something that you like.
Yeah. And that's exactly like I was mentioning earlier. I got my airframe and power plant degree, even though I'm a pilot, because sooner or later, everybody pilots don't die; they lose their medical. That's the joke. There's so sooner or later you're not going to be healthy enough to actually fly the airplane anymore. Well, I was lucky enough that where I was working, I could get my get that degree to where now I can be a mechanic on airplanes and get that for fairly a decent price. And a lot of people looking at me like, why are you doing? You're a pilot. What are you doing in here trying to learn how to be a mechanic? Well, it's twofold. Now I can work on my own airplane, but again, like you said, it's my backup plan. If I end up having a heart attack, if I end up having a stroke, or I can't fly anymore, I'm done. But I can always work on airplanes. So I can always, turn wrenches. So that's absolutely it. You need to find what you want to do and find a way to be able to do that the rest of your life. Because I've seen, my brothers are a great example of they work every day of their life. I don't work at all. I get to go play. When my phone rings and I get to go fly an airplane, I'm loving life. When their phone rings and they got to go into work, they're hating life. And again, it's not any smarter. I just got lucky and happened to fall into, hey, I can do this.
Yeah, but the good, the nice thing about that, and we're back to kids, I think, is that you have to, in a way, educate your kids and the people around you that, what you do by your own admission, you've been lucky to do what you liked, but you had no right to be that lucky, if you get what I mean. No,
not at all. Think about it. If I just would have been born in South America, if I would have been born in, most, if not all, of Africa, I would have never been afforded any of this stuff. I wouldn't. There's very little chance I would have been able to do any of this. And it's luck of the draw. There's no doubt.
No, but that's the main thing. That's the thing you're talking about. Me, for example, I know. Well, I wouldn't say more than what I should, but I know a lot of things in areas which they serve me basically no purpose. It's not something I'm making money out of it. It's not something I will ever make money out of it. There's some things that I know only because I was really interested in those things, and I know them. Some of the things I know more than some experts which are making money out of it, but I never had a chance to work in those sectors, in those things. And I'm working in another sector which is okay. I kind of like it. So I'm one of the lucky ones, but it just happens. One of the main problems around here is people, going to university or going through a field of study and then complaining that they cannot find a job according to what they've studied. Well, tough shit. That's not the way it works.
Exactly. The market, again, it's looking ahead. Is the market going to support, what you do? And again, I'll be the first one to admit I lucked into it because when I first started becoming a pilot, there's, the way that the guy sold me on it is, number one, if you love it, great, because you got to, because it's going to be a lot of work. But on the other hand, once you get in it, you're always going to have a job. There's always going to be people flying airplanes. Well, I didn't realize, and I don't think the person even at that point that was kind of selling me on this, the instructor that was getting me into it to begin with, really understood just how now the job market is just exploding. There's no pilots anymore. It is amazing to watch how aggressive any company that uses an airplane is in acquiring pilots.
What I'm trying to say is that the drive for you to become a pilot, it shouldn't be the full expectation of what you want to do. I mean, you study to become a pilot because you like the idea and you like the environment. I mean, you might be working your whole life in a power plant, but you want to study to be a pilot. But there is a difference if you study to be a pilot because you want to be a pilot, or you study to be a pilot because you like to be a pilot. And those are two very different things, because if you study that and you put your effort into something that that you like, regardless if you're going to succeed, you're going to be happy. But if you study and devote your life to something that you will not be able to do that because of reasons and stuff like that, you will become a frustrated man or woman, and that's a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I was mentioning earlier, I think that's the difference between kind of me and my brothers, is that the jobs that they took were good jobs. They make good money, they're stable, they're going to be able to get to work every day, but they don't like the job. It colors their life. They're stuck there 40 hours a week doing something they can't stand. Whereas I make as good, if not better money than they do. And every time, like I said, my phone rings, my heart rate increases, and I'm happy because now I get to go do something I really love. So I absolutely agree that, as much as I hate to say it, and I mean, I've told my kids this as well, you've got to make enough money to be able to live. Don't get me wrong. But it's also, the whole point is to be able to live, not exist, not just put food on the table and wake up every day and pay rent, but to actually live. And if you're spending 40 hours a week, every week out of your entire life, doing something you hate, I'm sorry, but I argue that's not living. That's just existing.
Yeah, but that ties up, to something that me and John were talking at the very beginning. It's the fact that how much you work to live and how much you live to work.
Yep.
Because I've been in that situation. I've been in a situation where I was making shitload of money, like metric tons of money.
Yep.
But I had no time for me, my family, or my friends. And
I did the exact same thing.
No, and I mean, I'm not going to be, to jump on the higher source I can find it and saying that wasn't funny, because I understand. I mean, it's way easier to make a lot of money and not have time than making no money and having a lot of time. I mean, I'm not that stupid.
Yeah.
But you get to a point where you say, okay, can I make a little less money or even a lot less money and have a better life? Because I mean, money, you can make a lot of money and it can outlast you. You can make so much money that you will not be able to spend it and you will die and you'll have a lot of money. But you can't have the other way around.
Nope.
So you get to a point where you say, you know what, fuck it. I've got this X amount of time, and yeah, you know what, I'm making a little. Well, probably I will not change, the car or buy 3 motorcycles, every 4 or 5 years. Fuck it, I'll keep the same motorcycle for 10 years. I'm making way less money, but I'm having a way better quality of life. And the funny thing is that not only you feel better, but people around you, they feel way better. That was one of the first things that my wife told me when I changed my job, and and I decided to have a 50% cut of what I was making. I mean, we were way more happy, and we had a way better life than what we had before.
I think I was reading the other day that there's a cutoff for like happiness after a certain salary point. Like if you make more than, I think it's like over $300,000 or something like that, like your happiness kind of maxes out, and then it like starts to rebound the other way. That you're more concerned about your money rather than really happy with it. It probably depends on the area you're in, I'd imagine.
I don't know about if this is the study that you're referencing, John, but in I think in behavior economical or like positive psychology circles, they always refer to a study where people think that making more money will make them happy. And in order for that to be true, it would have to be like, a magnitude of order more than what they're making, like to make a really big impact on their quality of life. I don't know if that's the study you're talking about. Like making an extra $5,000, $10,000, that doesn't seem to increase happiness. But if you increase your salary by a factor of 2, then yeah, you're able to do a lot more things than you used to.
No, I think it was a study that was more showing that it was referencing that what should we call it, that your salary doesn't necessarily reflect your happiness levels, and that like people who gain like a certain level in their salary like always end up like reporting less happiness. And I don't know, I don't know exactly how they were quantifying the study when I was reading it. It sounded like a meta study about some research, so I don't really know exactly who they were referencing. I probably should have looked it up, but I was just
if you do find it, let me know.
Okay, I'm gonna go back in my history, but I'm just kind of commenting on the idea that like money money obviously isn't happiness. Like they don't equivocate, but like it's strange because man, money like solves a lot of the problems in life that tend to make people quite unhappy, right? Like, and like I don't know, I've been poor for much of my life, and I can tell you that it's like it's not always like it's not always that the poorest of the people are the most happy, right? Like people can find joy in living like below the poverty level, but I think that it's not necessarily that money doesn't in fact like increase the amount of happiness. Like having bills paid is a good feeling, right? Like not being in debt to creditors and always like wondering if the next call is like someone looking for money, right? Is like that's a great feeling for people who might not experience that in every day, all the time. And like that's so I think that like you can talk about like that like up to a certain level. I think it does in fact increase happiness, right? Like that like to get above the poverty level is to like experience some level of satisfaction and security that like will allow a bit of personal happiness, right? Like beyond like, and so I don't know, like I think what we're talking about is like a narrow band of like good amounts of money. You don't want too much that you're carefree with it, and you don't want too little that you're worried about not paying your bills or taking care of your family.
No, but dude, I mean, I agree with you, and again, I don't want to sound like the guy which is talking, from his wide position, prerogatives that got everything settled and like that, because it's true there is a saying that if money can buy happiness, well, think about having no money. That's not working either. So I totally understand that, and I agree with you. So I get there is a level below that it's problematic. So you're talking about survival and sleeping at night, and that's fair. It's understandable, and I totally get it. What I was trying to convey is the fact that you get to a point where you got to decide, okay, I'm quite settled. I'm making X amount of money with X amount of job, and this is how much time I've left, for people and stuff like that. Is it really worth it? Because there is a delta that you pass, and it's not worth it. And I also understand that it depends a lot from people to people. Some people are happy if they are they have success in their job, in their position, whatever, they satisfy them, it's okay. But again, if you think about all the people which are around you, if you have a family and stuff like that, you got also to take that into consideration and think about how are they important, to your life in general. So this is where you got to ask your questions. Okay, is it really worth for me, to work 60 hours a week, or even 40 or 45, 80 hours a week? It doesn't matter. I'm making a lot of money and not seeing your family every day, and not being able to be when your firstborn is born, like it happened to me. I mean, I was working. That for me was a big, shock. Said, okay, this is not really worth it, because I was making, enough money and more. So the fact for me of not being there when my firstborn was born, that to me was a big, reality check. Say, okay, this is not really good enough for me, because I don't care how much money I can get. I don't care how much success I can have. It's not worth it. Not being there, when the kids are growing. Not being there when they're walking. It, it it's all personal choices. I get it, but that's why it's really important, for people to ask questions, and to figure out what exactly the priorities are. And that's a very good lasagna, by the way. I mean, it looks good. I hope it's as good as it looks.
This is a macaroni and cheese. So I don't know if you can see inside. It's not quite a lasagna. It's a bit of a casserole style.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, it's all just crusted on top really nicely. I'm quite proud of it.
Yeah. It hasn't got Italian seasoning in there, right?
No, I made sure to add Italian seasoning because I'm
you
testing
did?
it out, right?
So,
I want to test out when I get to Italy. I want to know the difference.
It's gonna taste like shit. So.
That's what I was going to ask: is how many tablespoons of Italian seasoning do we
have? Yeah,
all the Italian seasoning.
Wow.
Oh, wow! I added a pepper called a Ring of Fire pepper. I don't know if it's going to be as advertised, but immediately it's quite hot. Good thing I have a beer. So you were talking about missing the birth of your firstborn, Fabio?
Oh yeah, I did.
That's a terrible story, and
it is.
I don't know. I feel I understand exactly why. I mean, there's sort of that dilemma, that balance between those two things,
I mean, I was in France working, for fuck's sake. So,
I guess duty called, right? Yeah.
Well, it called at the time, and then I made sure that it didn't call for those instances, for those things anymore. Because that, to me, it was a big shock. I mean, I was happy for my firstborn, and I did all I could, to get back, sooner than it was supposed to. I had to, to call the company, have another plane tickets and all this shit, and I was happy. And after a month, I said, what? I mean, fuck. It's not worth it. It is. I mean, this is something which has happened once. I mean, well, for my firstborn, it happened once. I had a second son, but it was once, and said, okay, I'm going to live one life and I miss that thing. As that's not okay.
And that's what I tell my kids: is the one thing you can never buy. There's anything in this life can be replaced except time. I don't care how much money you got, you cannot buy 1 second of time back. And once it's gone, it's gone.
No, and the problem, the problem, Ned. Okay, now you can start laugh now before I say that. What I thought at the time was, okay, but think about if my son turns out to be an asshole. Okay, which might happen. It can happen.
Well,
it happens for a lot of people.
Again,
Now,
if you look at the genetics,
yeah, okay, that was actually, it's a miracle he didn't, right? But I'm with you on that. But I remember having that thought, and this is how fucked up I am. I thought, okay, think about this. My son turns to be an asshole. The only moment I can be sure that he wasn't an asshole is when he was born, because that's the only moment, right? Because shortly after that, he can be an asshole by not sleeping. Can be an asshole by having diarrhea all the time. He can be an asshole by actually turning an asshole when he's grow up. He has all the means to be an asshole. The only moment I can be sure that he's not an asshole is when he was born, and I missed that. And it's funny. It's funny up until the moment that you think it's not really funny anymore, because that's something which can happen.
You're right. That's a great point. I mean, I'm going to try to remember that for my kids. So if they are working and whatever, my son says, "Oh, I got to work," that's a great point, because as much as you want to think it's a funny kind of off the cuff statement that really doesn't have any substance, no, it's the exact opposite. Definitely, you're right.
Because if you work a lot and you're not with the family, I mean, granted, you have to care for your family. If you live in a family that you can stand, you can stand your wife, that's another problem, altogether. But if you care about the environment you grow up, unless you're there most of the time, when you come home, especially if you work a lot, you're stressed out. It takes time to get back to some attention, and you miss the good parts, because most of the parts are shitty, because you come back home, you got problems, so it takes time to chill out, relax. So there is that, and it makes you wonder, is it really working? I don't know. I mean, to me it didn't, so that's why I made the choice I made. I understand for some people it does, and more power to them. I'm always wondering if they ask themselves, the same questions.
Well, kind of springboarding on what John said earlier, I don't remember where I read this, but once you get a certain level of money, it's not about the money anymore. It's more kind of a game, and you're just trying to get more money so you can win the game, not because you need the money. And that, I don't know. I mean, I definitely can see that in a lot of the really ultra wealthy people, that they don't need the money. And I've asked myself that a bunch of times. You get $10 or $20 million. What are you working for? I mean, why are you going to, But again, it's not about. It's fun for them to see if they can get to 30 million, to get to $1 billion, to get So I don't know.
I do understand that. Yeah, I think I almost worry about is it even moral to have $1 billion, right? Like, is that a moral position to be in? Like, if you can really look at it like, oh, I could never spend this amount of money ever in my lifetime, and like, is it moral to have that much money? And I don't know. I think we're pushing limits now where like people can't, and we really are pushing to the point where I think billionaires are in an immoral position for hanging on to it anyways.
I don't think it's a moral question, John. Well, probably it is. We don't, but bear with me. I think that the main problem is why you want to make $1 billion. You want to make $1 billion because it fulfills yourself. Go for it. You want to make it because the environment that you're in pushes you to make $1 billion, so they tell you you'll be more happy. This is the time where you got to question yourself, because I mean, if it makes you happy to have 70, 80 cars, rare cars in your stable, go for it. But that has got to be what really makes you happy. And this is the question you got to ask yourself. If all you're doing is because you are in a mechanism which tells you, oh, the only way you got to be really happy is if you make $1 billion. I think you should stop a little bit and ask yourself, okay, is it me, or is it the environment I'm living in which is pushing me towards that?
And I get where you're coming from, Fabio. That it's about, what is the driver? Am I just doing this because there's some arbitrary number out there that I'm supposed to hit, and that makes me special? Or is it, do I really enjoy the work, and I'm just lucky that the work I happen to enjoy will result in me being a billionaire?
And also, what is the cost of it? Are you willing to? In a way, I retract myself. I understand where you're coming from, John. It is a moral dilemma. Uh, it boils down. Okay, is it worth spending my time and everything else towards that? Because I love old motorcycles, but I understand that in order for me to have the old motorcycles I would love, I would have to take away so much from other aspects of life, which combined, I think they make me a better person. They make me happy and make the people around me happy, which I care for. So I say, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to castrate myself in order to achieve something which I know it works for me. It is good, and um, to it's not myself thinking, okay, I can be happy with less, so I don't want to engage a lot. I know that the cost of what I would have to do, it's way more than what I'm going to lose.
Yeah. But the other flip side, like John was saying, when you've got 10,000 to 30,000 people a day dying just because they don't have food and water, to hoard $1 billion, and what that $1 billion, the pain and suffering that even if you took it and said, okay, I'm going to take 900 million and give it away to try to build water wells and to try to build agriculture and to help people that need it, I've still got $100 million in the bank. I mean, is it really? I mean, I think John's got a big point in that. Is it really moral?
Yeah.
Once you get past X, whatever X number is, that I mean, this is another thing I don't think people understood, is that back with Dwight D. Eisenhower, which he was a Republican, after World War II, the top 20% of Americans were being taxed at 95% of their income. And everybody wants to get back to the old days. Everybody wants to make America great again. But I guarantee you, if you talk to most of the 1%ers, the 10%ers, and said, oh, that means we're going to go back to a 95% tax rate, they'd lose their mind. But what is so wrong with that? I mean, if you've got that much money, why not pay back the world? Why not do something with it?
Yeah, I think I mean, it's just the scale of a billion, right? Like a billion is a big number, and it's really hard to see how people can sort of, like, I think there is a lot of evidence that people who reach those levels do actually try to start charitable foundations and do I think they do, some of them do grasp the enormity of the responsibility that those levels of income really do sort of put on them. But I think it's a very strange thing also because, I've heard really low estimates as to the amount of money that it would take to actually distribute food to everybody on Earth, right? It's not as much as we would think. And it's weird because it would only take 7 or 8 billionaires pooling their money together, a sizable chunk of it, to really accomplish some of these goals. And it's really, I think that's what's sort of most disturbing, is that I think that we kind of know pragmatically and sort of intuitively that it's possible to solve these problems with enough money, and yet we don't sort of view it as people's obligation to give up their money to solve those problems.
The fun thing, and what you said and what Nat said made me think about something. The sad thing is that the society we live in, they're trying to go with an idea which has been ingrained into us, and it's so simple, but they're trying to make it really look like crazy. There is a concept in economics. It's called the marginal utility of money. Like, for example, if you have $1 million, okay, $300,000 is not that much. You will still be with $700,000, which is a lot. But if you have $1,000, $300, it's a lot.
Yep.
If you have to live by with that. And that's the kind of concept that people is trying to pass, which makes no sense whatsoever. But people is trying to pass that kind of concept, So why do you don't apply a flat tax? Because it's fucking stupid. That's why you don't apply flat tax. Because if you live with $1,000 and the flat tax is 30%, I'll give it away $300 and you got 700, which is not a lot. But if you have $1 million, I give it away $300,000, and you still have $700,000. You don't give a flying fuck about it. This kind of concept and the fact that people is trying to pass them as being, moral and okay, it's what really pisses me off. Because
then you look at it from the other end of it, and they're spending literally trillions of dollars on these wars. I mean, if we just took the money from the war in Afghanistan, the war on terror, and all that bullshit, and actually applied it to try to work from a humanitarian standpoint, I guarantee you, like John said, we could fix everything, and the billionaires could still keep their damn money.
I agree with you, Nat. The only reason I made that example instead of the one you made is that when you talk about those things to people, it's always, it's another problem. It's, that's politics. That's another problem. When you start touching your money, this is where people get really, sketchy and nervous. But it doesn't make sense. But I mean, I agree with you. If you scale up the moral problem, this is where you have to go. I agree. But if people doesn't understand, if they're in their own little garden, in their own little backyard, that's wrong, you will never get to the bigger picture.
Well, it's the old joke of 5/3 of people don't understand fractions. People aren't good. People aren't good with math. They don't understand that, when you say, hey, everybody's going to be paying a 30% tax, and they're like, okay, that seems a little high. Well, that millionaire is going to be paying $300,000. Oh, okay. I've only got to pay $300.
Yeah.
Like you said, you only have $700 left. That millionaire's got $700,000 left.
Yeah.
You've got to have a sliding scale. You've got to make it to where maybe it doesn't hurt, but everybody is comfortable. It's the old saying of, when you go to negotiate a deal, the best negotiation is when both people feel like they gave up something and, they weren't happy with it. If one person is all happy, the other person completely got screwed in the deal. That's just how it works. So taxes should be the same way, that everybody that pays it should feel it. Should be like, this is affecting me. This is something I've got to think about every year. Most people, especially in the U.S., the top 10%, taxes, number one, there's so many loopholes that they don't. I mean, like that's the thing that pissed me off. We were looking at our taxes last year, and to realize that Donald Trump, if you believe he's as wealthy as he is, but that's another discussion. But let's say that he is. Because he filed bankruptcy 6 times, he has not paid income tax in 18 years. Not a dime. Now, we've never declared bankruptcy, but we damn sure don't have nearly that money. I've got to pay taxes every year because I don't declare bankruptcy. Because I don't go out and bankrupt a casino which again, how do you bankrupt a casino? But whatever. He is not feeling income tax. There's nothing. Whereas when we write that check every year, I guarantee you, I mean, we do well. We're pretty well off, but it's still something we got to think about. I mean, it's not just, oh, well, whatever, write the check. We're not going to worry about it. That's, to me, what would make it fair is everybody. Go ahead.
No. I agree with you, and I understand your rant. The problem is, well, another problem is what we were talking about before is education.
Yeah.
Because it's really sad to say, but people in general are really gullible. Because the only thing you need is to come up with something, really stupid like trickle-down economics, and people will buy all that shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've told the story before. I used to work as a compensation analyst in a corporation back in Texas, and there were a couple of clerks that worked underneath me, and they handled literally writing the checks for whatever we were doing in compensation, from child support to whatever, anyhow. And one of them came into my office one day, and she goes, "Look, I'm not getting this. Can you do me a favor and tell me what is 50% of this?" And I'm thinking, I mean, it's a big number, but still 50%. I'm surprised that she's asking me for this number. So I've got a 10 key on my desk, and I do it, and I print out the little deal and hand it to her. And she walks about 3 steps toward the door of my office and turns back around and goes, "No, not half, 50%. And I'm telling you, that statement just froze me in my tracks, because I'm like, what am I missing? Not half, 50%. And I come to realize she doesn't understand that 50% is half. 0.5 is the exact same. I mean, and this is a clerk. This is a big corporation that, but you're right. I mean, and it took me probably, 15, 20 minutes of discussion to show her, look, 50% is the same as 0.5, as, half of this. It was crazy. But yeah, I mean, it scares me to watch just how lacking education is now. And not only how lacking it is, but how it's not only undervalued, but ridiculed. I mean, there's so many people that think if you've got a PhD, you're the bad guy. You're the elite. You're the bad people. I just don't get it.
I mean, there's also the issue that that like society seems to have like sort of this implicit value placed on how much money you do actually have and make, right? And it seems to me like it's almost implicitly tied with status. And to ask people to give up status in terms of like their fair share, I think it is a weird thing to ask people, right? Like, to place so much emphasis on it as the way that we judge people and order them in the hierarchy of our lives, and then to somehow like discuss it like, oh well, you should be giving up a greater percentage of that status. I know you've worked hard to achieve this particular salary point, and yet like we want to take more of it away from you once you do get it. And I think that's, I don't know, those two conflicting messages do tend to, confuse the issue a little bit, especially here in North America.
But I think that's the problem, is if we shifted the focus into status being how much are you actually affecting your fellow man, that's where your status lies, instead of how much money have you hoarded away, what kind of car do you drive, all that kind of crap. More, I mean, somebody mentioned it earlier, I think it was Fabio. It was not Fabio. It's not here anymore. Can't believe I can't remember his name. Whatever. He was talking about the Star Trek type deal. And if we could get back into what does my life, if we can, I mean, I know this is oversimplifying it, but kind of come up to a life equation of what is my number? What exactly did I do with my life that affected humanity? Did I have 2 kids that went on to do X, Y, and Z? Did I, have enough money to be able to help out with charity? Did I, whatever that I did that means something, and that becomes the status. That's what's meaningful, not what some stupid arbitrary number in a bank account is. But again, that's changing society. And as much as I would love to say that we can get there, I don't know if we can. I'm with you, John, that it's going to be very difficult in taking that status symbol and reallocating it to something that people will actually accept.
Yeah. I worry it's just an impossible task with given the current state, like just the cultural situation we find ourselves in. But I mean, at the same time, like, there does seem to be plenty of resources everywhere, right? And I think the small steps that we can take to, I don't know, equalizing those imbalances, like, will go a long way. Especially to Chris. I think we should tax him the most.
Oh, of course, we should tax Chris.
Right. I mean, he's so lucky that he married Shanna, because without that, we would just take all of his money, and I mean, we'd probably give him something to eat every day, but not much, and take the rest of it and just.
He's got enough money for a big fancy cat. He can certainly afford to pay his fair share.
Well, now he's also got a cat, and he's allergic to cats, so he's going to need drugs and medicine. So it's going to be a burden for all of you.
We should probably tax him a little bit more beforehand, just in anticipation for the burden he's going to be on the taxpayer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's got a license to have a cat. I mean, Shanna, she's allowed to have a cat, but there's Chris there too. So I'm not sure if he is allowed to have a cat. Yeah. And I always wonder, what exactly. I mean, we're talking about.
Right here. I'm right here.
Oh, you are? That's interesting.
You always say that like you think we, for some reason, forget you're around.
Or we care, by the way.
Yeah, not understanding that we're doing that because you are right there. The whole point is that you're right there. That's why we're saying it.
No, it's running back to the mic. Hold on a second.
I know, that's what I was going to say.
I can't be distracted. I'm chopping onions, for fuck's sake. This is the second time I washed my hands in 2 minutes.
Because you're a pussy. That's what you are. You need to wash your hands when you chop onions because you cry like a baby.
There is this new thing, Christopher, called Bluetooth that, you can pretty much walk almost anywhere you want to. And you don't have to keep running back and forth.
And I'm sure in the US you have dried, pre-chopped onion that you can buy. I think it's slightly on the left of Italian seasoning. I think there is that too. It's in between Italian seasoning and chopped garlic. It should be in the same area. But no, he has to chop onions because he's a man and he has to cry like a man.
Well, this is all just a kind of I don't know, a pretend type deal that he's doing, Fabio. He just goes to the grocery store and buys all the frozen dinners, like the Stouffer's lasagna and stuff like that. He's just throwing that in the oven. He's not really cooking this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've been there 2 days. Well, I got to be really honest. He cooked stuff on the barbecue. I saw that. I can vouch for that. But he had some chicken that he said he prepared. I never saw him preparing the chicken. So I'm not sure if he bought it, actually. and yet all the stuff in the refrigerator, in all this, plastic. I'm not really sure that he doesn't buy stuff and puts there. I mean, what I'm just saying is that in 2 days, I never see him doing any of that stuff. So it might be, it might be just because the fact that he wanted to be with me and Barbara mostly, not with me. I understand that. I totally get it. Priorities, right? Okay, yeah. You have a point there. I can't really say anything more. You have a point there. Yes.
Now, what I'm thinking is there are these services out there. I think they're like one called Peachtree and Blue Chef or something like that. That all they do is they send all the ingredients to your house, and you just sit there and follow the instructions to put all this stuff together, and whatever comes out comes out. That may have been what happened. Is he had them send that stuff, Fabio, so it's all sitting there ready to go, and now it looks like. But of course, that would include the Italian seasoning, because
I can talk for Italian seasoning. I will not say anything more of what I was saying before because I put myself in a really bad situation. I know that the chances that my wife she's going to hear that are close to none, but still, I'm not willing to risk that. So I will shut the fuck up because that's what the men do, right? They know when to shut the fuck up. They know when to stop.
that's it. It's not about what it's all about making sure you understand what your wife or your female
or whatever the human being that can make your life really miserable can do. That's
absolutely.
Yeah.
100% about.
Which, by the way, is something that Chris hasn't understood that yet.
Really? He hasn't.
Oh yeah. Oh I saw him pushing Shanna sometimes in ways that I would have been really scared to do.
Oh wow.
Yeah. The guy.
Shanna can't, I guess, really make my life that miserable, but I'm not going to push her from here. So that's impressive.
Yeah.
He'll do it from.
That's something I got to give to Chris. Is really living a really dangerous life. I don't know if he does that because he's stupid. He doesn't really understand the danger is in. That's probably the case, but he does that.
Some of us just love to live on the razor's edge,
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, John. You can choose to live on the razor's edge because you like the thrill, and you control the situation up to a certain point. I don't think he does that.
I was going to say there's a difference. I mean, there's calculated risks.
Yes.
Turning an airplane upside down and flying inverted. Okay, that's one thing. But
right.
Messing with Shanna, I don't know, man. You're talking about a different league.
It's the fear that turns me on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. That might be a good thing. Yeah, that would be the really good explanation about Chris. Yeah. But yeah, it's funny because we're all trying to walk him back to the bike, and he isn't. So
if he was smart, he would just turn it off, not pay attention.
I'm having fun watching you assholes squirm.
Well, I never said that I watch your assholes squirm. I said that I think about your assholes squirm.
Which we all do.
Yeah, that's a big difference. It's like, when you watch a horror movie, you don't watch it because you like it. You just want to thrill. But I don't want to live in a horror movie. That's the reason why I never watch wrestle. I think about wrestle squirm.
Hey, you raise a good point.
Yeah.
Still, it'd be fun. But I don't know. Now I'm thinking that maybe Chris, he bought that Italian seasoning to impress you, and he's more offended that you like weren't impressed with.
No, I'm sorry, laughing because you should have really. Because the the way everything happened was so bizarre, and I gotta give it to Chris. I have no idea that was going to happen. So he was in the kitchen. He got this little jar as in red Italian seasoning and said, Chris, you can't use that. Yeah, look at that. And I showed to Barbara, and apparently I told her, look what he's using. You should throw it away. Now, I mean, I know I've got Alzheimer's, so I'm sure Chris will correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm saying that the way it went, she looked at it like with a straight face and said, yeah. She walked out of the kitchen. She went outside and she started throwing away the stuff. Now, she couldn't throw it away fast enough, so she unscrewed the cap and she threw it away. The old moment when she walked away, I told Chris, look, she's really going to throw it away. Because I told her, but I was half joking. She took it that seriously and she just went like a person on a mission. And Chris followed her and she saw her, because I never did. He actually did, so I don't know about that. She was in the middle of the field throwing away the stuff and giving it away to him. Empty. That was so bizarre and so funny. We couldn't even, that was what? It was so funny. And Chris, for 2 days, kept complaining that I wasted like 50 cents of Italian seasoning for 2 days.
That's good. It's good fertilizer, isn't it?
Yeah. 50 cents. He complained that for 2 days.
Well, the fact that he paid for it to begin with is,
it's astonishing. Yeah. I know. Right. Yeah.
Maybe someone gave it to him as a joke.
Did y'all eat steak while you were there, Fabio?
Say what? Sorry?
Did you have steak while you were there?
We had chicken. I think we had steak. Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering if he put ketchup on his steak, because that sounds about the same.
No, well, no. I gotta give it to him. The grilled stuff was really good. Again, I don't know if he bought it and grilled or not. I can't say that, but it was really good. Yeah. So yeah, there is that. He's a nice host. That much I can say.
Well, but that's probably Shannon wearing off on him, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I mean, probably she has been training him for weeks before I came. I understand that, but still, she made a good job.
Which is what I would expect from her.
Yeah.
So when's your next tour of Canada, Fabio?
I don't know. Well, Canada might be the next thing, but I mean,
what do you need? Wide open roads?
I don't know. I mean,
we got all that stuff.
No, I know, no. We would love to go there. The thing is that if you draw a line of how often we go away, well, how often I take a vacation, that's gonna probably happen in another 4 years. So that it seems to be I take a vacation every 4 years.
Well, you're lucky I'm a patient man.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. But
No, I'll come see you.
right, the invitation is open for everybody, including Chris.
Oh, what? That's
Yeah.
invitation seems a little less special, but I guess I'll still.
I want to
No,
go.
I'm-
I want to go when John goes. Just to ruin the whole trip for him.
See, now it's really less special. It's kind of a nightmare.
Well, I'm going to New Zealand, so I'm getting away from everybody.
Well, at least you're gonna watch some really rugby.
Okay, I'm gonna go next week.
To New Zealand? You're gonna go next week to New Zealand, or to visit me? Well, if you move to New Zealand, Ned, you're going to be really big into rugby. You got to. That's national.
I know the All Blacks. I know the All Blacks well, and
Yep. Well, but I mean, isn't New Zealand a fairly religious country in the long run?
That's what I was really surprised about when I
they have a major a city called Christchurch. That seems religion. So you're not worried about a creeping theocracy when you're living in Christchurch?
No, it's funny if you look at it, they seem to be a lot less religious, or a lot less. I guess the religion is less impactful to daily living than in America. So,
it's a country which has more sheep than people. Of course, you can't be that religious.
Well, I mean, there's.
I mean, bestiality cannot be that much of a thing over there, right?
I'm 50, man, so picking up women is out of the deal. So sheep now, you got to have some fallback.
Right.
Hey, how did the Italian shepherd find his sheep in the tall grass? Very satisfying.
You Italian, Chris?
He thought he was, and then found out he wasn't. So
he thought he was.
Has the summer been nice for you, Fabio, out there in Tuscany?
So what?
Has the summer been nice there in Tuscany?
Yes, even too much, I can say.
Oh, I got no internet. I'm sorry. I'll be just 1 second.
It's been really hot around here. Now it's getting a little bit okay, but hot is coming back. So yeah, weather has been really nice.
Are you close to the mountains, Fabio, or not?
It's funny because the area I live is really nice because just figure out if you start from my house in like 15 minutes you are on the beach. The town is on the beach, so you 15 minutes you are in the sea. If you drive the opposite direction, in like 20 minutes, you are on the hills. And if you drive like an hour and a half, you're on the mountains. And in 2 hours, you can go skiing.
That's nice, man. Yeah,
It is really nice.
From where my wife, where her family lives in California, it's kind of the same thing. They fly one direction, they can get to San Jose, and then the other direction they get into the mountains, just go skiing.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really nice. I mean, actually, my wife, because his father, he has a lot of money, so they have a house in the mountains, and we can go ski there every winter. So it's really convenient. That's one of the reasons, But yeah, I digress. Yeah, but it's really convenient. It's really nice. So yeah. So how was the week for all of us, guys? So,
Oh, not bad, other than fighting with that sink and trying to get the insurance company to actually pay what they owe. That was my biggest fight. And then I'll be leaving.
oh, I forgot to mention it to you, Ned. When I came back from the US, I got a very interesting piece of equipment that you would love, because I know you're into flight simulators and all that stuff. And the reason I bought it is that because by buying it in the US was way cheaper than around here. But that's the piece of equipment I bought.
Oh, you're killing me, man. Oculus
I
Rift,
know.
huh? Yeah. Wow. Yeah, me and Matthew had a long discussion on what the future of VR was going to be while he was here.
It's fucking insane. It is insane. I mean, I thought it was good. It's way better than good. It's killing me. One of the things I bought when I bought this one was a driving simulator, and they have Laguna Seca also. And I don't know if you know how Laguna Seca, there is a corner, it's called the corkscrew, and basically goes up and then goes down on the left and right, but it's really steep. I mean, if you go there in person, it's really tough to be standing still. It's very steep. So I tried that with that simulator and with the Vive. I almost puked myself. It's so bad. It's like, whoa.
Really? Is that good, huh?
It is that good.
Damn, man. I've been kind of hinting to my wife off and on that I want to get the PS4 with the VR, just because we don't really have a gaming computer, and I mean, I can get that I can get the whole setup for less than $1,000. Where if I went Oculus Rift with a full gaming computer and all that, that's gonna be at least double that. So, but you're killing me, man. Yeah, I would love to. That's almost worth me flying into Italy just to play with that with
you. No, one of the reasons about that is that both my computer and the computer that my kids have, everybody's got their own. They're all those computers are able to drive that thing. So now it's just by chance that it's sitting by me, because it's usually walking through my house from room to room, to depending on who's getting that. It's really cool.
I'm sure, man. Yeah. Oh, you're killing me. Absolutely. I'm sitting here. I'm playing Far Cry Primal right now because I'm waiting on new games, but I really, I don't know. I think it's going to be 10 years before every game is pretty much put out on something like that, especially these first-person games like this.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I wouldn't say it is disappointing because it isn't. The thing is that there are not too many really good things to play with that. The way less than you would expect.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
The store that I go to buy my games, there's a couple of guys that are pretty good there. They know their stuff, and that's what I was asking them is that, look, I want to get it just because I want to play with it, but is there any real games that you can devote some time and they're like, more right now it's more kitschy type stuff, and there's some decent stuff out there, but it's nothing that's going to rival any of the normal games. So
well, let me put it this way: if you are, for example, if you're into driving simulator, or I don't know about flight simulator, to be fair, but for driving simulator, there are a couple of games even online which are the shit. So if you're into that, just because of that, it's worth the money because it is beyond. It's way astonishing. But if you buy it as a general purpose, you better buy a very big monitor or a bank of monitors. Because if you really, I mean, there are not so many things to pick from, but there's some specific ones that totally worth the effort and totally worth the money.
Huh. Yeah, I've never found a flight simulator, even the go-to flight simulator, other than of course real flight simulators, is Microsoft 2000.
Yeah,
flight simulator on that. But even those, I mean, they're decent in that you can learn procedure and you can learn radio work. But flying the airplane, it's nothing like flying the airplane. And I've never found a flight simulator or a flight game that mirrors flying an airplane. It's not. I mean, I don't know what it is, but none of them are close enough to where they keep my interest. So that would be interesting. I'd like to see if having an Oculus or something like that, if there were flight simulators that would make it, at least feel more real. Because I know, like, there's the biggest company here that teaches high-end flight simulation training is called Flight Safety. They do all your type ratings for jets and all of that. Now, they're full motion pod simulators, like in 3 or 4 story buildings. So you're, it's full articulation. You're inside this little capsule moving around. So it's not VR. But I would think that eventually, if you could scale it down to where you're just moving a single chair instead of moving the entire cockpit and the entire airplane, it would end up being better. But but I don't know. That I hadn't even thought about that aspect of it.
It's really good. I mean, I can tell you from a driving simulator point of view perspective, it is really good because you're really immersed into that. And the menus might be a little bit clunky and stuff like that, but once you're driving, I mean, the experience is really amazing. Just the fact that you can turn left and right to see, I mean, what happens left and right on the car, it's beyond. It's really good. And it's a totally different perspective. It's way closer than reality than you might think. And also because it helps the fact that you're so enclosed in the system, especially with earphones and stuff like that. You're literally in a bubble, so it's really, really interesting.
Huh. Yeah, I definitely want to get it. It's just I got to pull the trigger, and the other thing is getting the okay from my wife. So.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
She likes games a lot too, so it shouldn't be that hard after all.
Yeah, that's a big bonus, right? I mean, my wife, for example, she cannot. We tried to put it on her, and she can't stand it. She's got a puke. She can't find it. It's so disturbing for her. It's insane. You gotta physically grab her because she's going to walk all the way around. She has no how can I say, she's really into that, and the feedback is overwhelming to her. So it's funny.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, guys. Thank you for the wonderful hangout. I'm gonna jump off. Thank you, John, for starting that.
All right, well,
Well,
have
these
a good
music.
one.
Yeah. Take care. Ciao, Ed. Bye bye. Ciao.
Bye. John, you still around? Well, I think I'm going to snipe at everybody because it doesn't look like anybody's still here. So, good night, all, and hopefully next week, if John can work that out, we'll get to play that video and have a little fun with Mr. Mowdy. John, if you can hear me and you need any help with that or anything I can do from my end, which won't be much, I can guarantee you, please let me know. Have a good night, all. Bye.
Holy shit. All right. Well, my internet's down. I don't know if I have any sound. I don't know if you want me broadcasting. I'm going to shut down this hangout. I mean, it was a lot of fun. Anybody who's still watching, I don't know why you are. Um, you know, if anybody from any of those food delivery companies that Chris uses, like Blue Apron or Sunshine Bonnet or whatever the fuck they're, I want to sponsor us here at the phyuckitol Talks. Yeah, we'll be happy to accept your sponsorship money. You might get some ads here on the show. All right, thanks everybody. Talk to you later. Bye.